Topical and atypical. Unfiltered and independent. 100% authentic and intelligent.
The first thing that all of these fascists do is burn books. And I read somewhere that it's not that they're burning books because they want to destroy art. It's not that they're burning books because they want to disrupt history. They're burning books because they want to destroy memory. They want to destroy the memory of what was there before they got there, so that folks will not fight to get it back. I start with the fact that it's not about being Black. It's about being people. And, you know, Malcolm went all the way to Mecca to figure that out. Yep. And so that was a journey he did. So I don't got to go to Mecca to figure that out. That we have media companies that claim to be Black media peddling a concept that questioning is problematic. I'm cutting out your words.
No, it's like
yes. Thing you're doing to get to the thing you're doing. And I asked myself, but what can we take control of? Right? So if I feel like I don't have control of that, then I start mapping a course. So I'm somebody who thinks in a very practical fashion. Like I'm very utilitarian and like, okay, how can we like see that down the line? But I'm also an artist. So I'm like imaginative in what that can be. And I know that for a lot of us, we are stuck to a grid of only what we have seen is possible versus what we can create possibility from, which by the way, as Black people, that's actually uncharacteristic of us. We are the innovative people. We are the descendant of actual Homo sapiens, like the ones who made it possible for us to be possible. I have a master's degree in African American studies, but I don't realize the proximity with which things happened in the 60s. In my mind, they exist as these separate siloed events, when in actuality, they happened in rapid succession. I have a master's degree in African American studies, but I cannot tell you the contents of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. I can't tell you the contents of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And I can't tell you how it was gutted. No matter how tapped in I thought I was left out. And I had to check myself and get over myself and step in. Houston, New Orleans, Dallas, Atlanta, my What Would the Ancestors Say mission-driven book tour is coming your way. Come on out, be in community, buy a book, and get it signed. RSVP at AmandaSeals.com. I don't know what's going on, but I don't think we've ever at any point only had 121 people in here, but good morning to you regardless. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. For those of you saying that you aren't getting notifications, I suggest actually setting an alarm in your phone, because depending on these apps to notify you when someone they are against is going to be talking is counterintuitive. Like it literally doesn't make sense. You know, so like I've been shadow banned. I've been shadow banned for years now. You know what I'm saying? So y'all know that. I've been shadow banned for years. So it doesn't make sense. It really is just about us continuously having to work around things like this. I'm staying at a place
where the internet is sketch. Everything about it is sketch, to be quite honest. But nonetheless, we'll work through it. So shout out to everybody who is here with us. We have a really great show today. We have Sabby Sabs joining us. We have Misan Harriman joining us. So we're going to be getting into a lot of things. I know that people want to know my thoughts on Jasmine Crockett. I also want to talk about climate change, which I just really want to challenge myself to make sure that we talk about every single week, because I really have not been putting enough into that. So looking forward, we will be doing that on a regular basis. And I also want to talk to you guys about Luigi and update you on what's going on with him. It's actually very momentous. It's not just nothing. So I'm going to be giving you all some insight into that. And I am so annoyed by the fact that there's only 149 people. I am genuinely irritated by this. But it's fine. 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 Shout out to Houston. I will be in Houston tonight, and I will actually be at Las Perras, which is a coffee shop owned by one of our AmandaLanders. Yay. Let me give an applause for that. So looking forward to seeing you guys in the H-Town. And I will also be in New Orleans tomorrow, and then in Atlanta on Saturday, and in Dallas on Sunday. And let me get my water. I'm actually really tired and haven't eaten. So great. And what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, thank you, Freedom for Sudan. You know, I was about to be leaning into just being comfy all the time. And I was like, I'm just about to be comfy all the time. Like, that's what I'm going to be on. I'm just going to be comfy all the time. But then I had to clean out my closet because I can't fit a lot of it. And in doing so, I was like, you're too fly to let all this go. So y'all are going to be getting fashions again. Y'all are going to be getting fashions again. So just giving you a heads up that I am back with that. Someone said, is that a set? No, it's not a set. It's just a white jean. I just felt like I needed to be pure. So there's that. But let's find out where everybody is and do a little AmandaLand roll call. Shooby dooby dooby doop doop doo. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? I'm in H-Town. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. We got Brooklyn, New York in the building. Kansas, Cleveland, Ohio, Western Massachusetts, University Place, Washington, Spain, Jersey, Southern Arizona, Patterson, New Jersey, snowy Canada, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York and Midtown, cold Mitten, Michigan, Sunnyvale, California, National City, California, Union City, California. Oh my God, all the Californias. Chelsea and Manhattan, H-Town, DFW, Tejas, Wimicong Territory in so-called Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, Thailand, Virginia, NYC, Charleston, Maryland, Chicago, Nassau, Bahamas. Give me some comforters. Cape Town, I see you. Saudi Arabia, we international. Pittsburgh, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Germany, but Black American. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Miami, Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, Sweden for one more week. I just sent you your package. Cleveland, Ohio, Everett, Massachusetts. The chat is moving slow because of the internet, and thus we are out of here. I also still am pissed at why there's only 188 people here. I just be feeling like there's a greater suppression happening, and I don't like it, right? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But let's get into our word of the day. And I'm not home, so I don't have my whole shit together. So just pardon me, okay? Pardon me. I'm also in a different time zone. I just have a lot of excuses, to be quite honest. I had dinner last night. I went out last night, and the dinner wasn't good, y'all. I mean, it was good, in terms of I was with my homegirl, but the actual food itself, it wasn't hitting. And so I had to really force myself to try to eat it, but it wasn't hitting. And so I woke up hungry. At this point, I feel like I have a tapeworm because I'm just always hungry, and I don't understand what that's really about. I also blame everything on perimenopause at this point. So I'm just going to blame it on that. So our word of the day is mycology. It's the branch of biology dedicated to studying fungi, including yeasts, molds, and mushrooms. Now, I know that this seems like a very specific word, but I want you to use your what is this thing? Okay, so StreamYard be adding shit that I don't even understand. Why is it only letting it stay up for 10 seconds? Savvy, have you used this before? Show for 10 seconds. Oh, timer off. Timer off. I will determine when I want to take my banner down. Thank you very much, StreamYard. Now remember, we love a metaphor. We love placing the words in other ways. So, you guys can use mycology in another form other than just as the relationship to science. Okay. So let's see who's got it. So people are like, yeah, the food is not good in Houston. Thank you. You know where else the food is not good? London, unless you go to the Indian neighborhoods and the Black neighborhoods where you get Caribbean food. Everywhere else is like, what is this? Bangers and mash? See, I love y'all because you be thinking. Allison Waite says, yay, the mycology of human connection is the cornerstone of life. Ding. Rachel Porter said, we need to be constantly studying mycology to understand the world more and more. Ding. Farm Guy Levy said, mycelium networks. We can learn so much on how we can build resilient community from fungi. But you got to use the word, Farm Guy. You got to use the word. Rolando, I wonder if a mycologist can find a way to get a pizza to make me extremely happy, if you know what I mean. Ding. The mycology of Zionism has proven it's a death cult. I mean, I don't even know if that works, but I'm just going to say it works because the conclusion is correct. Ding. Mycology is based on the mycelium that makes up the world. Ding. Meg Collier says, I've been consumed with studying the mycology of the Democratic Party. Ding, 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 ding. Well, we have somebody who knows about them things with us today. The brilliant Sabrina Talate is joining us, and we will also be talking about her documentary. Okay. Now, Actually, I'll say that for when I'm talking to her. In the meantime, in between time, let me really quickly give you all our question of the week before we bring Sabby Sabs up on the screen.
Bonus question, bonus question, bonus question, bonus question.
BONUSQUESTION. That is very loud. Oh my God. Maybe it's these Bose headphones, but wow, that took me to a place. This week's bonus question is, what do you consider leadership? Now, this question comes out of the fact that whenever I share information online, the question that comes back to me is, so what are we supposed to do? So what do we do now? And when I talked about not Jasmine Sullivan, I'm not scared of lions and tigers and bears, but I'm scared of loving you. No, not Jasmine, but shout out to Jazz. She's great. When I talked about Jasmine Crockett, I said a very specific statement, which is, perfection is not the metric that's going to get change, is not going to get change. However, continuing to vote in establishment Democrats who support Israeli Zionism and corporatocracy is 100% not going to get any change. And then people's responses to that were, so then who are we supposed to vote for? All you do is just say things, but you don't say what to do. And my question is, why do you not have the capability to know how to synthesize information into action? That is because we have been so trained to take our cues from who people decide to be leaders. So I'm asking you all, what do you consider leadership? Because my version of leadership is in decolonizing minds to be able to be leaders. And the reality is that, my understanding is that you cannot have an effective resistance with a bunch of followers. An effective resistance is one with loyal leaders to the resistance. You're telling me Andor isn't a leader? Of course he's a leader. And that's a fictional character. However, it's very imperative to understand this. Followers are not what causes resistance, because followers follow whatever is leading them. You should be leading you. So what do you consider leadership? Okay. Let me get off my soapbox and get into this dope conversation with Sabby Sab.
Blackguarate news. Politics. Blackguarate news. Pop culture. Blackguarate news. Sports. Blackguarate news. Justice.
Sabrina Salvati, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Amanda. Yeah, I can hear you.
We have a delay. This internet Sabs is going to kill me, but okay, I'm going to work through it. I'm very irritated this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, I wanted more, so give me more. How are you doing? Beyond great. The bang is banging per usual.
I've just been really busy this year. So I'm looking to cranking out the rest of December and going into 2026 with a bang.
I want to do the exact opposite, but I hear you, girl. I hear you. I want to go into 2026 with the ease of a lazy river at a water park in the Midwest.
Oh.
That's what I would think.
That's different.
I'm trying to ease in. I don't want no bangs. I don't want no hard impact, nothing. Okay. But you have been working so hard, and I want to start off immediately with talking about your documentary. And I understand the documentary struggle. So let's first let people know about the documentary before we get into the Jasmine conversation. And this documentary is called removed Black erasure in Boston. So I want to play a little clip, or the trailer, I should say.
Yes, Boston is home to winning sports teams and elite universities. But some might say that there are two Bostons.
If you look at City Hall, no one's talking about that specific racial and historical component that Black people are the ones that are being removed.
There's a huge, significant difference in lived experiences, and we know this because of the wealth report. We're at $8.
This whole plan of gentrification isn't a new concept. In every city you go into in the Northeast, they kept moving Black people out of the inner city. So it's a plan. It's been in place for a long time.
While the displacement isn't as bad as 1963, it hasn't gotten much better now.
It's by design that they've created spaces where we are no longer seen anymore. They're wiping us out one community at a time, and they're getting away with it. This is gentrification. Franklin Park has been a place where we have built community, and all these things are at risk.
Why is the mayor willing to throw herself on this sword, do or die, for this project? It's not about soccer. It's about the additional profits that can be made in this entertainment complex.
It's a disrespect that you would take public parkland and then give it to a private group to control it.
And this project is Emmett Till's mama pulling back a curtain. And if people don't look at what's behind that curtain, it's coming to them.
Yes, people are doing documentaries. So Sabrina, I don't know if you know this. My father ain't shit, but he is from Boston. So I do have a connection to Boston. He is from Roxbury. Yes. So, you know, when I was like, you know what? I really need to know more about Boston. And this is a great place to start. So tell us what made you decide to make, because honestly, you have so much information and knowledge that you could have made 11 different documentaries. What made you decide to do this one first?
Yeah, so I moved to Boston in 2011. So I've been here for a long time, actually. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years is the rate of gentrification and the way that it has continued to increase. And there was a group of activists that reached out to me and they said they wanted to have a meeting with me to tell me about a new project, which is White Stadium, which is located inside of Franklin Park, that is also leading to more gentrification. So during that meeting with them, that's when I started to realize, you know, this may need to be a bigger project. Like, I can bring you on the podcast and you can talk about it, but I think we really need to go through the history so that people understand how we got here. And so they were all for doing a documentary. So upon talking to them, I reached out to other residents, other people that grew up in Roxbury, grew up in Dorchester, and they told their stories as well. And ultimately, what we ended up doing is that we identified 4 harms that is leading to the erasure of Black Boston. And those 4 harms are gentrification, redlining, urban renewal, and mass incarceration, because it's different components that led to this. It's not just about White Stadium. The uniqueness of White Stadium is that we've seen this happen before in cities across the country, where the city decides that they want to build a new entertainment complex, whether it's a new ballpark, a new football stadium for professional teams, or a team that may be already there, but they want a new stadium. And I think sometimes what people don't realize is oftentimes those new projects end up replacing Black neighborhoods. Ultimately, they go to places where the land is relatively cheap, more affordable, so that they can build there. And that's where a lot of the gentrification comes in. So with that particular project that's happening right now in Boston, those investors that said, we're going to bring this women's soccer team to Boston, they have already started buying property around that area. So ultimately, this is what leads to part of that erasure. But I think what a lot of people don't understand about Boston in particular, if you've never been here, the Black culture here is not promoted. Most people, when
No.
they think of Boston, or they come to Boston, there's a lot of Irish American culture that is
Yeah.
promoted, but there are Black people in Boston, but they're just not, it's not put out there that way. And what I have seen over the years, if you look at the data, is that Black people are leaving Boston. They're leaving because of forced displacement, because their apartment buildings are being bought by investors, so they have to leave. They're leaving because the cost of living continues to increase. And so if you look at the data, it shows that for the first time in history, Black people are more concentrated outside of Boston instead of in Boston. So we're in places like Brockton, Avon, Randolph, Taunton, further and further south of the city, which also means that we have a longer commute. And it's not
Right.
unique to Boston, right? So this happened in Chicago, this happened in San Francisco, Detroit. When we get into the urban renewal part of the film, we do dive into these plans to build highways in Black communities that were never built, but housing was torn down because those highways were going to be created. So Milwaukee's a good example of this, how they displaced an entire Black community because they were going to put a highway through the city that they never put. So of course, they find ways to get you further and further away from the places that are productive. We had a screening at Roxbury Community College. We're going to do a couple more screenings. And then right now we're getting prepared for film festivals. So far we've received a lot of praise. I'm actually really surprised. But a lot of people have reached out. I think just because of the topic, it can be kind of, it can be exactly right. And and some people were like, well, what about us? What about this? And I'm like, you don't have a net worth of $8. Black people do. And so I think it's important that people understand how that came to be in Boston. How it came to be that the average Black family has a net worth of $8 and the average white family has a net worth of over $250,000. That is a big disparity. What I found filming this documentary is that Black communities in particular constantly deal with disruption. And part of that disruption has been decisions that have been made by the city.
You should check out an interview I did with an architect, Adam Paul Susanek. He has a page called Segregation by Design. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I read an article about that.
Yeah, he came on the show and it was like so super informative, but also just really clear as day, the ways in which highways are used to create segregation. And it's not done in community conversation. It's done, as you said, over the heads of people. It's done behind closed doors, which is why it ends up being so imperative that people are involved locally in the way things are happening, right? I mean, we just simply don't, as a nation, have that practice. We kind of vote for people, even if we do it all, and then we just go on our merry way. But I mean, to be fair, it's not a merry way. Like you said, when you have an $8 income, like that doesn't leave you time to really fight, because you're really trying to just pay for the basics of existence. So how was your process of making the documentary? Because that is its own journey.
I thought it was a great experience. I'll tell you, the easiest part about this were the interviews. Like, a number of people were happy to participate, to be a part of it. So I thought that was going to be the most difficult part, like getting people who actually want to be in the documentary. But that was the easiest part, because they said, we need to tell the story of Black Boston, and people need to know what's happening here in Roxbury. There's gentrification happening in Roxbury, in Dorchester. So I reached out to residents. They were very happy to come forward and tell what happened, and how Roxbury was once a thriving Black community. And these policies like redlining and urban renewal ultimately changed that, right? So that was the easiest part. The most difficult part was finding the historical success of Black Boston. it was just nowhere to be found. I had never
Right.
experienced anything like this before.
Which literally proves your point.
Right. It's when I say erasure, it's not even just physical erasure. It's not including this information in the libraries. I went to libraries. I looked online looking for old Roxbury when people, migrated from the South to Boston. Very difficult to find. I ended up learning that Northeastern University, which is a part of the gentrification in Roxbury, by the way, I hate to say it because I went to school at Northeastern University, but they somehow were able to own a lot of the old black and white archive photos. So Northeastern University, their archive office, they own a lot of those pictures. So when I found that out, I went to their archive and I went through a number of boxes of pictures just looking for the success of Black Boston back in the day. And even then, it was very hard to find those pictures. So I had to reach out again to other people who grew up here and said, do you have any photos of what Roxbury used to be like all the Black businesses that were there before a lot of them were burned down? And that was hard.
Whoa. Burned down?
Yes. Well, there's a story about the night that James Brown saved Boston. I'm not sure if you ever heard about that, Amanda.
Vaguely.
There were a lot of race riots during that time. And James Brown had a concert in Boston. And so when MLK was assassinated, that was part of the, So those businesses, the community was not rebuilt after that either. So there were a number of things that were difficult with this. And the comparison that I made is that Chicago, like Boston, has hypersegregation. But when I went to Chicago, I have no difficulty finding old Black Chicago photos, videos within the libraries. Very difficult here in Boston. It's almost as if, as Antonia says in the documentary, it's almost as if we were never here. That was the most difficult part.
So where do you feel, how did the people who are in the documentary who are directly affected by this, how do you feel their response to the doc has been?
They're very proud of it. Again, like I said, I was very surprised. When we did the screening, I got a standing ovation. This is my first documentary, so I didn't really know I didn't know what the response was going to be or if people were going to be receptive to it. One of the journalists that was in the documentary, Yawu Miller, I met with him yesterday. He kind of felt some kind of way as what about, the white community in South Boston? That was this place. And
it's not about them. This is not a documentary about them. Do that documentary, Yazul. Do that one.
I had to tell him my job is to elevate the voices of those that are not heard. There's a lot of history about South Boston. There's a lot of movies about South Boston. Their story is told. My job is to tell the stories of those who are not heard. And I also had to remind him they don't have a net worth of $8.
Right.
So it's wild to me when people come in and they say, well, what about the white people? The white people don't have a net worth of $8. It is absolutely disturbing and disgusting. And I had to explain that me having lived in other places, my family is from Baltimore, having been in Baltimore, DC, Philly, New York, etc. When I walk through Roxbury and I see just the vacantness, the lack of Black businesses, it's sad. I've never seen nothing like this before. You don't see that in Chicago. You don't see it. So people have been displaced. People have been erased. And the fact that it's hard to even find those photos and videos of that thriving Roxbury community, that tells you everything you need to know. Even when it comes to arts and culture, one of the most troubling things that I found is that a lot of people here, they all know who Mark Wahlberg is. They all know about New Kids on the Block. But a lot of these people don't even know who New Edition is. How is that possible?
What? They don't know who Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike are?
Yes. Yes, and they were more
Raleigh.
successful than New Kids on the Block. But
You better
again,
say
that
that.
says something. It says something about the culture. We just had, and this is in the documentary as well, there was a New Edition day. I know. I know. There was a New Edition celebration day where they came here just recently over the summer, and the mayor, she dedicated a street to New Edition. Finally, right after all these years, they finally get like their own street. And I went to that event, and even I was like, "This is all the people who showed up for this." And it was disturbing because to me, I said, if this was New Kids on the Block, all
Oh
of
my
Boston would be
gosh.
out here. So what is the problem? Like, why is it that that's not even promoted? So these
By the
things need to be
way,
said.
they're also lovely. Like, if y'all have ever met New Edition, they're also like really nice. And the last time I was around them, Ronnie DeVoe, who was my heart and soul, Sabrina Salvati, was like, I just want you to keep going, sister. I see what you're doing, and we appreciate you. And 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and 12-year-old Amanda has never recovered that Ronnie DeVoe sees her as an adult. Literally, like, I have videos where I'm referring to myself as my fake name, Robin DeVoe. I was married to Ronnie DeVoe for several years.
I can see that, Amanda. I can see you having the thing for Ronnie. I can see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a big part of it is that these things need to be promoted. And there's a lot of talent that came from Roxbury and Dorchester, but people don't even know about it. People don't even know Louis Farrakhan is from Boston. People don't know about Malcolm X. That's another thing.
They didn't even know that Malcolm X is from Boston.
That's another thing we talk about in the documentary, how Malcolm X's house is now declared a historical site. But if you see what it looks like, Paul Revere's house don't look like that. It's just, it's wild. Like, that should be everywhere. And I said, there is something to be said about this, that you don't see this in the other cities on the East Coast, where the Black culture is hidden in such a way where people are like, are Black people even here?
I mean, Boston is so racist. Like, every time I go to Boston, the only time I see Black people is when I do my shows. Like, when I'm in, like, where, like, typically, if I go to a restaurant, or if I'm just in Boston proper and I go to a restaurant or I'm at my hotel, I don't see Black people, and I don't even see Black people working, right? It's not like, okay, we are in the private sector. No, we're literally nowhere to be found. I've more than once looked around at a restaurant in Boston and been like, hold up, are we in here? No, I'm the only Black person in here. And if you look at me fast and keep it moving, you might say I'm Latina. So I understand. Yeah. And I don't think people also, and that's what I love that you're doing this documentary, or that you did this documentary. Folks still are adherent to this idea that racism only existed in the South and not as a national ethos that has been, permeated and perpetuated all throughout this country.
Right. I think a lot of people still make that mistake.
I mean, Boston was the last, Boston didn't desegregate their schools until the 70s, like the mid 70s, like not even like 71. Right? Like, they was holding on, and they were just as mad as these other videos that you see of Ruby Bridges and these white people, scowling, and all of that was happening in Boston as well.
There's also a famous picture of Ted Landmark being hit by the American flag by a white guy that said, "You're taking our jobs." I believe that picture was on Time magazine at some point, but that is a very infamous picture that a lot of people are familiar with. Interestingly enough, though, Ted Landmark still lives here. He teaches at Northeastern University. There's a lot of things that have happened. We do talk about the busing. We go through some of the busing photos, which are horrendous. And I think that sometimes people think that because it's the Northeast that we didn't have those issues here, or we don't have those issues here. And what I talk about in the documentary is that the type of racism, a lot of it that you experience here, tends to be structural racism and covert racism, but it's still there.
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. So you are now on the trajectory with festivals, et cetera, et cetera. Where can people watch the doc?
You can watch it right now on my YouTube channel. It's called Remove Black Erasure in Boston. My channel is Sabby Sab, so you can watch it there. It may be there only for a limited amount of time. It depends on some of these festivals that we apply to. We are reaching out to see if it can still be on YouTube. For some, it's fine. For others, we're not really sure because they don't really say. So it may only be there for a limited time, and then I'll have to mark it private and then make it public again after the festival circuit. But that's where you can find it now.
All right. Removed Erasure of Black Boston. And how long did it take for you to put this together?
We started filming at the end of April. So we moved pretty quickly for documentary standards. Documentaries can take years, from what I understand, to film.
Yes. Yes. And how do you feel like you were able to get it pushed along so fast?
I got to give kudos to my editor, Scott Hanshew. Scott was phenomenal. He has a lot of experience working in film, and he was able to move things along in a way that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own. He's the one that created a lot of the graphics, the transitions, like all of that is Scott. That's not me. I don't have those skills. So definitely shout outs to him.
All right, Scott, shout out. We got to shout out the crew. You know what I'm saying? We got to shout the below the line. All right. Well, Sabby, thank you so much. I mean, it's so necessary that we continue to make this type of work, right? In the face of the constant erasure of basically everything that is about knowledge and truth, right? Like that's what we're constantly witnessing and watching. I want to pivot because I texted Sabby this morning and I was like, now, Sabby, I was going to send you headlines, but you know, folks just want us to talk about Jasmine. So let's get the people what they want. So first, let's watch the announcement video that Jasmine made, Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine Crockett, about her run for Senate.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Sabby, I had to put on my red lip so I could align with you. I said we gotta put on our red lip. All right. Okay. First impressions of this move.
Who made that ad? Who made that ad? It just, Jasmine Crockett isn't running against Donald Trump. And I feel like the ad also was, I don't know, it seems to kind of be all about like her and not policy. It's just, it's giving me ego vibes, right? But ultimately she's not running against Donald Trump. So I don't know who's making these decisions, Amanda.
Well, you know, the thing about it, so at one point in time, Jasmine and I were actually really getting cool. And so there's things that I don't share conversation-wise because they weren't being had in the context of her being a politician and me being someone in media or just an intellectual, right? Like they were conversations we were having off the record. So I don't share those things, unlike my conversations that I had with Kamala Harris, which was very much in the context of you are the vice president of the United States and you summoned me here to try and confront me and you ain't had nothing to say. That being said, it has been quite disheartening to see just how quickly she has shifted from I'm a young, you know, representative that's entering the party to now believing that she is the future of the party. Based on what? Based on,
I guess because she's been very vocal against, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican Party in general. She was more outspoken than others. But that's the easy part. It's easy to fight against Trump. It's easy to oppose the Republican Party. That's supposed to be your opposition, supposed to be opposition. They agree on more than we realize. But where were you when a genocide started under Joe Biden? See, that's the thing.
I can
think
tell you where
people-
she was.
Yeah, it's like you're not pushing back against people in your own party that have made decisions that lead to the erasure of a group of people. Even now that Trump's in office, I mean, it's just, and we can get to the Israel part because I'm going to tell people who she really is.
Oh,
but
I left that for last because
Okay.
because I know. See, one thing about Sabrina Salvati is she's going to give you the receipts of the receipts. And that is the thing that I feel like these folks fail to realize, is that there are folks out here who are tracking their choices, who are tracking their votes, who are tracking their money, and who are tracking their shifts and their changes. And they don't acknowledge that. And so they continue to move as if they're impervious to critique. But we are going to continue to be acknowledging of the necessity to critique and also to illuminate the ways in which they are misleading folks, right? Because even when we talk about Israel, and when we get there, I would love for you to also just really amplify for people the direct implications, the direct effect that having a support of Israel has on the people of the United States, right? And of the people of Texas, et cetera. Because I think people think it's like a ideological difference that we're talking about, and it's deeper than that. So her running for senator, can you just lay out for people what a senator does? Because let me tell you, a lot of people don't even know what a senator does. They're just like, oh, she running for something, so let's just get behind it. But they don't even know what the role of a senator is. I'm watching people literally say to me, you know, she is in Texas, and I see people talking about her who don't even have a vote in Texas. So why are you acting like this is your business?
Okay, well, senators work in Congress, and after legislation passes the House, it makes its way over to the Senate. I mean, it's just like, so she will be voting on legislation that impacts all of us, the entire United States. And I think, I don't know what the schools are doing nowadays, but it seems like we need to teach civics to people again. Or if people have not learned civics, I'm starting to realize people don't know what some of these positions actually do. But that would be her job. I sort of see Jasmine Crockett the same way that I saw John Fetterman when he ran for Senate years ago. And I warned people about John Fetterman, and I'm warning people about Jasmine Crockett. The sad part is a lot of people, a lot of lefties are saying she's the populist candidate. She's progressive. She's not.
No, she's not.
Jasmine Crockett has taken corporate PAC money. Jasmine Crockett
Wait.
crypto-
I want to stop there. It's not just that she took it. It's that she said she wasn't going to take it.
Yeah.
And ran on, I don't take it, but my opponent does, and then proceeded to. I think it's important to denote these shifts in ideology that are actually not just impacting her campaign, but impact the way that we are allowing dark money to affect the way our elections operate.
Right. She was one of the people that said, look at me, I have $0 of corporate PAC money. But then she went on to take corporate PAC money, and she took more than her opponent was actually taking. She's also in the crypto club. She took like the crypto money, which Trump is a big like fan of. And I think that people need to go back in, if you can find it, go to Revolutionary Change. Jen Perlman and Peter interviewed Jasmine Crockett years ago when she was in the State House in Texas. And she was a very different person then. The moment she got into Congress, she started to change. And I remember that because that's how I learned about who she was, because they interviewed her and she was leading like this fight in the state house in Texas. And everything
Do you remember
changed.
what
Like,
the fight was about?
I forget. It might have been workers. I forget. I have to go back and check.
But it was something that was actually for the people.
Yeah. And that's why
Okay.
she was brought on to, they were talking to her about it. So that was when I first heard about her. And I was like, okay, she's out there fighting for, for the people. But then when she got into Congress, you started to see how she really was. So yeah, she fights back against the Republican Party, but I mean, they're all kind of doing that in a way.
That's low hanging fruit.
That's the minimum. But don't get it twisted. She's not a progressive. She's not like a populist candidate. She's not even grassroots. She's another corporate Democrat. That's all Jasmine Crockett is.
Can you illuminate for people why that is not helpful to them?
Yeah, it's because of the way that they vote, right? So these candidates that are taking corporate PAC money, the candidates that are taking, whether it's crypto money, et cetera, you have to know that a lot of these lobby interest groups, they write legislation in Congress. It's not just politicians that are writing legislation. And when they write legislation, they write legislation that is going to benefit them. And then these politicians that are taking donations from them vote towards their interests. That's why they donate money to them. Jasmine Crockett isn't even running on Medicare for all. Nope. Like it's weird. And I've already seen the shift. I'm already seeing progressives and they say, yeah, she's the fighter. She's the progressive we need. Now, all of a sudden, Medicare for all doesn't matter. Now, all of a sudden, like Israel doesn't matter. And I'm noticing climate change, all of these things.
There's a direct quote on her site where she talks about energy and climate change. And she says, it says, generating more wind-powered electricity than any state in the nation, Texas forges into the future while also staying true to its oil and gas origins. Like, what does that even mean? To me, what it says is, yes, I'm going to do green initiatives, which are their own scam, by the way. However, I'm also going to make sure that you oil tycoons, et cetera, are continuing to get your hands on fossil fuels that we know for a fact are ruining the actual ability for us to live on this planet. We're going to talk about it later, y'all, when I talk about what's going on in Asia with the flooding.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think she's tricked a lot of people. Although I have noticed like Zed Jelani has called her out just recently and said, Jasmine Crockett's not progressive. Last night I went over the way that she is voted. So I think a lot of times people just aren't paying attention. So yeah, like she's raised her voice against Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's called out Trump. She's danced in the halls of Congress and all those types of things. But a lot of that is just a distraction. It's just performative. Yeah.
So let's talk about her voting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about her voting record. So her voting record, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. We have a delay, so it's a little bit awkward. So
okay. So I was just gonna say, for those who are wondering about Israel and foreign policy, most of the time she voted along with Israel. Yes. Most of the time she voted along with, what Trump actually would have wanted for Israel. Track APAC, I'm not sure if everybody follows this group on X, but Track APAC, they have a website of the candidates that they endorse. And also they list the candidates that are taking like, APAC money, et cetera. Yeah. They are not endorsing Jasmine Crockett. They said Jasmine Crockett did not call it a genocide. Jasmine Crockett, because of the way that she's voted, not to stop the weapons. So they haven't endorsed her. That should tell you everything.
And people are like, well, she hasn't taken AIPAC money. So first of all, I want to let you all know that there are other PACs. There are other Israeli lobbies besides AIPAC. And now that AIPAC is so outed, they are going other ways. They are finding other surreptitious ways to get this money to these people. They know that they have control over these people. At a certain point in time, Jasmine Crockett signed a letter of allegiance to Israel and to the lobbies saying like, okay, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z. Now, I don't know the contents of that letter, but she signed it, right? And I remember when Jasmine Crockett went over to Israel on a trip. If you were against Israel, you're not going to go over there and then come back and still be talking the same way. I would have honestly, Sabs, I would have been okay with, I went over there, I came back. This is bullshit. Let me tell you what I saw. This is crazy. We can't get down with this. Now I'm over here with Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, and we are not going to allow this to happen. No, she didn't do that. She actually came back, and that was also why I distanced myself from her, because it was like, oh, you're not standing in truth, and so I can't have brunch with you no more, right? Like I can't hang out with you. And I also want to point out that for a lot of people, the concept of being against Israel is something, and I said this earlier, is something that is an ideology. People are in my comments saying like, Palestine ain't got nothing to do with us. So I want us to talk about why we are so staunchly against politicians who are in alignment with the Israeli lobby and Zionism. Because it's not simply about the fact that there's a genocide, which should be enough. It should be enough. One, can we talk about the corporate involvement?
Let's talk about the money. I don't know if everybody has looked this up, but if you get a chance, you should. You should look up to see how much your state and your city sends to Israel. And then I want you to look up the homelessness rate in your area. I want you to look at the unemployment rate in your area. I want you to see where a lot of the money is going. I can tell you Boston sent $10 million to Israel, and our homelessness rate has skyrocketed. So the money's not being spent here. That's a big part of it. Also, for someone who, I believe Jasmine Crockett was a civil rights lawyer. Doesn't she practice civil rights? Okay.
Yes.
So if you're fighting for civil rights, why are you supporting Israel? Because if anything, you should be supporting, the Palestinian people are occupied. The Palestinian people are oppressed. The Israelis are not occupied. The Israelis are not oppressed. They control the land, the air, and the sea. They control what food goes into Gaza. The Palestinians are losing their homes in the West Bank because of rabid Israeli settler violence that is being inflicted on them. This is a weekly thing. This didn't start October 7th, but there are multiple, you can look up the videos for yourself. Israeli settlers going into the West Bank, stealing Palestinians' home, squatting outside their homes, waiting until they go to work, and then destroying it, knocking it down. So that's what Jasmine supports. People have to understand that. When you say I support Israel and we need to stand with them, you're supporting all of that. So as a civil rights lawyer, that doesn't make any sense. It's very clear to me that Jasmine got the talk, and you got to be careful because some of these politicians, to Amanda's point, no, they're not taking AIPAC money, but they're still voting along with Israel's interests. So it's not just enough to say, let's look them up on Open Secrets and see if they're taking money from AIPAC. And to Amanda's point, there are other groups. There's Kufi, there's J Street. So,
there's
and
also
that's
individuals, right? There's also
Right.
individuals like this Edelman lady, right? So like James Tallarico, who is also running and who others will say is another option. He's getting his Israel money from an individual, from Edelman, who also sent buttloads of money to Donald Trump. And this is why, Sabi, I'm like, I need people to understand that we are watching a false flag operation in there being opposition between Democrats and Republicans. And Sabi talks about this all the time on her show. Right. At the end of the day, they're all funded by the same people. And that is who you are supposed to be fighting against, right? And it feels like people just refuse to want to acknowledge that. They just want to get caught up in the battle royale between these two sides instead of acknowledging that these two sides are being paid by the same people. So that's obviously who the issue should be with. Now, when we talk about Black folks, right? And okay, people are like, well, you're not going to get people to not care about her because of Israel or Palestine, because those aren't Black folks. Israel is behind what's going on in the Congo. Israel is involved in providing arms to the members of the RSF in Sudan. Israel has 100% been a part of the overthrow of Libya. These are all Israel provided weapons to destabilize Haiti. So when we talk about these issues of, oh, well, those aren't Black people, so we don't care. Tell me when you all start to care that all of this also comes back. Because what's also happening is we have all of these cop cities that are in place to become the headquarters of ICE, which is going to essentially become the IDF, and they're going to be suppressing yo town and yo city. And you have Black Democrats like your man's in Atlanta who are riding with that. And they're going along with this Zionism mindset as if it is not going to affect Black people.
The NYPD is directly aligned with the IDF. That whole boot on your neck thing. That whole boot on your neck thing. Where do you think all this works together, right? So I was just talking about last night about the AI and intelligence that's happening. Israel is advancing their technology, especially when it comes to AI. They're already making statements, and people need to pay attention to what's happening out there. They're already making statements that Americans who don't want to agree with Israel, we should treat them like people in Gaza.
You saw,
and
I have
that's
video.
who people are supporting. 1,000 pastors just went to Israel to be brainwashed by Benjamin Netanyahu to go back and take this message to their congregations that you need to get your people in order to support Israel, because they're losing support among the young right-wing Christians now. And that's a problem for them. So
I want to
got to
play that
ask
video.
yourself,
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get it over here. You got to, like, have you seen the AIPAC video?
Yes.
Let's show that real quick for people, because this is nuts.
It's the start of a new day, and thanks to Israeli innovation, our journey will be made easier. I'll show you the sky. Our connections clearer. No looking down. Our food more plentiful and nourishing. Open your eyes. Our oceans cleaner. Far from the ground, no looking down. Our communities safer. You come across that mountain and the top seems out of reach. Our loved ones healthier. Put you right back on your feet, and we can take it one step at a time. We can take it one step till we get it right. From morning to night, whatever the challenge, Israel is America's partner for a better future.
That should deeply frighten people.
Oh.
That should deeply
technology.
frighten people. This is also Israel. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just want to remind people, when you think about the things that we don't have here, I want to remind you, Israel has universal health care.
Yep.
Israel has free university. But the same politicians who stand up in front of you and tell you that that's socialism and we shouldn't have that here, support and ally with Israel that has those things. Make it make sense.
How does that add up? And people think that just having a Black person somewhere is advancement, is progress. If that Black person is not operating different than the system they're in, they are simply just advancing the system.
Yeah. And that's not just Jasmine Crockett. That's Cory Booker. That's Hakeem Jeffries. That's all of them. They're not there to work for you. They're there to work for their donors. That's why the money is involved. So yeah, I know, I get it. People want to have representation, but what kind of representation are we actually getting? The fact that the Congressional Black Caucus aligns with Israel and prioritizes Israel. I bet you didn't know, unless Amanda told you. Did your representatives that are part of the Congressional Black Caucus, did they tell you they went to Israel? They took a big old trip over to Israel, and they kind of hushed and quiet about that, right? So that's their priority. So when you look around in your district and you look around, you wonder, why isn't our communities improving? Why? They're not fighting for you. They decided that a long time ago. I hate to say it, but the reality is we have a lot of, it rhymes with spoons. We have a lot of spoons in Congress. We really do.
Yes.
We got a lot of spoons in Congress. These people, it's fake representation. They're not there to really help you. You see how quickly they can bring forward legislation to prioritize Israel. But how dare you come to them and say, hey, I want legislation for this for the Black community. Oh, now's not the time.
I mean, Kamala said straight up, I will not make laws that are just for the Black community. Not laws. I will not bring forth legislation and bills that are just for the Black community. I won't do it.
But she'll do it for Israel.
Oh, hell yes. Now, and in providing greater context for people as to what the issue with Israel, let me show you the type of conversations that happen in Israel.
בגלל ביטול העבדות החוקית, אז נוצרו מגרעות עכשיו, כי אין אחריות על הנכס הזה. בעזרת השם זה יחזור.
This is a rabbi in Israel who is a well-known person in the community. He is not just like some random person talking about why slavery should return.
הם ירצו הגויים להיות עבדים.
The non-Jews will want to be our slaves.
שלנו.
זהו הרב אליעזר קשתיאל.
He is the head of the Sons of David Religious Seminary in
ראש ישיבת בני דוד בעלי.
הכי טוב להיות עבד של יהודי.
He goes on to say that being the slave of a Jew is the best.
הם שמחים להיות עבדים, רוצים להיות עבדים.
הישיבה הזו מיועדת לבוגרי המכינה הקדם צבאית.
This is a military prep school, and he is a teacher there. It is the most well-known and most
והיוקרתית בציונות הדתית. רבים מהם מגיעים אליה לאחר...
Most of his students are former soldiers. I also want to point out that Israel passed more than 30 laws since October 23, that deepen their system of apartheid and repression. So how can you genuinely, as a civil rights lawyer in 2025, continue with unflinching support, continue to have unflinching support? Now, one thing I want to say, Sabs, is that I want to ask you, do you feel like this is enough of an issue to render her campaign dead in the water?
Well, I mean, people are going to vote for her regardless, but I will say this. She has to get through the primary first, which she might go on to win the primary. But do I think she's going to win in the general? I mean, it's Texas, most likely not. I just read an article earlier this morning that said that the Republican Party actually elevated. They want her in the race because they believe she'll be the easiest to beat. It's the Pied Piper strategy. Yeah. Sorry, the sun is coming in. I don't know. The sun.
You bring it in the light. Oh, you're not used to doing the show during the day.
Yeah. Looks like a halo's coming in like, oh.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Take us to the light, Sabs. Show us the light.
Oh, man.
Well, one thing I will say is I appreciate not being alone in speaking the honesty about these folks and the truth about their existence as political figures. I think people are so wrapped up in celebrity that they forget that these are lawmakers.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll be making laws that impact our lives. So people need to think about that. And as much as I've been ranting about healthcare over the years, that's another thing. Why is Jasmine Crockett not even supporting Medicare for all?
She's supporting the ACA, which is not the same.
No.
So, they're going to continue to say that we're traitors. So go us.
I will say, I'll say this. I I think that people need to focus on building dual power. I think you need to stop like making the politicians your priority and making them their hero. I don't think that needs to be the thing. A lot of times people are like, who should we look towards to get in Congress, to get into the House, to get into the White House? And at the end of the day, you need to look towards the people that are around you, your family, your community, yourself. Look in the mirror, and you need to work on building dual power. You can do this through mutual aid, which is something that I do, and all of us at RBN, we do mutual aid. You can do that, direct action, organizing. I mean, I'd say, like, look at what the Black Panthers did. They weren't sitting around waiting for the government to these politicians to do the right thing and help them. They decided to help themselves. So I think that's where that fight is really going to be. There's a number of documents that you can look up to learn about dual power. And I think that's what you need to focus on, and I'm not to say that electoral politics isn't a tool that you can't use in your toolbox. You can, but it's not the only tool.
At this point, Sabby, I believe less and less that it is an actual tool to use in the toolbox, because I just haven't seen any evidence of it being useful yet.
Well, I think theoretically, I think like on the local level, I have seen Green Party members and independents get into some of these local seats, these local positions, and do well with that. So I think, I don't know, maybe people need to look a little bit more locally. Like I encourage more people more independents, or if you're third party, we need more of those people running for these local races, mayor, school board, city council. And it's so interesting. Everybody just looks for Congress, like the congressional races. What's happening in your community? Like, who's on the city council? City council controls the budget. So like, start looking into those things. City council is
how you have a arena getting built in your hood.
There you go. So, I mean, what we're talking about, like with the stadiums and the gentrification, like that's not coming from Congress. That's not coming from the White House. That's happening locally.
Yep. It's happening locally. And I want to also point out, though, the corruption is also happening locally. So I just also want to make that clear. We're not saying that locally is fair and federally is not. None of it is fair at present. There's corruption in all of this. We are seeing different states that are making the move to remove dark money from their elections. Dark money meaning money that cannot be tracked. However, it's really important that we understand that politics as it exists in the United States, and in many places, by the way, is a system of corruption. It's the same way that policing is a system of harm. So the system itself is made a certain way, and people actually go into that system knowing that many times to exploit that. Okay. So that is something that you can, on a local level, have a lot more teeth to fight than on a federal level, because these people live in your neighborhood. Like, they are there. You see them, and you can be on their head and on their neck every day that you see them. Why are you taking money from such and such? Why are you doing such and such? We are not going to handle that. I also want to point out, though, that the Zionism is also going to the local level. We are seeing Zionists, like you said, having meetings with local leaders in churches and pastors. They're also meeting with mayors and giving them incentive to create legislation that suppresses challenging of Israel, that suppresses BDS, etc. So when you see this much effort of something, you should absolutely be having a red flag say, hold up, I need to be paying attention to this. And I see so many folks that are saying, I don't know what Zionism is, so it must not be that important.
I would say the fact that you don't know what it is the reason why it is that important. They don't want you to know about certain things. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I had this conversation with my viewers, even when it came to the biblical perspective, and I was breaking this down for them as well. As I'm like, you guys got to understand, again, in the Bible, when Jesus was talking about Israel, I will call you Israel, he was speaking directly to Jacob. And it's all these things that, because I grew up in the church. So
Okay.
it's all these things that I'm just like, no, that's not really what the Bible says. So for all of you who do go to church, get ready, because they already said they want 10,000 more pastors to come to Israel and bring that message back to their congregation. So was your pastor absent last week? Maybe he might have been on that trip, because that list was confidential. I think if you follow Gen X Girl on X, she is trying to post the list. She's trying to get the list of the names of everybody who was there. But again, why did it need to be confidential? Why can't people know if their pastor is participating in the propaganda? So there's another way. And we can go into this another time, but there's part of the reason why you don't see me in the church today. Because I'm not going to sit up here and listen to somebody who says, we're Christian, but it's okay to kill these kids in Gaza. No.
You better stand on it, Sabs. I do want to show the video of the pastors though, because it's very disturbing to me, and I just think it's important before you go.
I'm here to be part of the Ambassador Summit taking place this week. We're here for 7 days to support Israel and to take what we learn back to our people back home. I believe it's imperative that we educate the younger generation on what it means to stand for Israel.
There's a lot to learn, a lot to be present for, and that is what I expect to do.
I'm on fire to spread the good news about Israel.
Israel's God's.
So again, we need to point out this is black, white, all flavors. All right.
Place. Jerusalem is God's place for God's people, and we need to support them.
Reverend Johnny Moore.
We are here to answer a call. Our faith requires action when darkness rises. And here we are, where the promises of Abraham still echo, where the psalmist's songs still rise. And we gather here on this closing afternoon to declare a spiritual war.
We welcome everybody that.
Okay, I'm not going to show the whole thing, but the man just said we're here to declare a spiritual war.
Yep.
I'm going to text you later. Sabs, congratulations on the documentary. You all please go to Sabby Sabs YouTube so that you can watch the documentary Removed, Erasure of Black Boston, and support independent creators, support independent journalists, support them, not only because we not getting paid from anything other than your grassroots support, but also because you deserve to know the truth. And there are people out here who have dedicated our lives to bringing that to you. And if you care about the truth, then you got to care about us. So thank you so much for joining us and for enlightening us as you always do. And also remind people when they can check out your show.
Yep. So I'm live on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday evenings.
You in there, Sabs. Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, y'all. You get 3 days a week to check out Sabby Sabs, who will be checking all of the facts and giving them to you. Thank you again for finally making it on the show. And we shall continue on, my red lip sister.
Hey.
Have a good one. Yay! Y'all been asking. When is Sabby coming on the show? Well, we're just going to turn right round and get into our next guest.
AmandaLand.
We up. Misan. How are you? Greetings.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hi, Amanda. Yeah, I can perfectly clearly.
Okay. Well, let me just tell y'all, Misan describes himself. Your Instagram bio is very specific, while not being specific at all. So, Misan says, dyslexic, neurodivergent, Oscar-nominated, NAACP award winner. Opinions expressed are solely my own. However, I know you to be a photographer.
Before we even get there, I jumped on early and I hadn't seen the clip that you shown of these priests. Were they priests?
Pastors.
Pastors.
Yep. Everybody is getting brainwashed, baby. That's the new wave.
And it's particularly, I don't know if you've seen The Voice of Hin Rajab yet. Have you watched that film?
No, I have not seen it yet.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that's not prepared.
Listen, I ran away from it. I've run away from that film for 4 months, and I decided, look, just, if Palestinians are enduring what they're enduring, go and see the bloody film. And I sat down, and the reason I'm bringing this up, that it's particularly hard to see men and women of God going to this place after watching that film, because what you learn in the film is, we all know what happened to this 6-year-old, but what I didn't know is that they had the technology to have the heat. They could see who was dead or alive. They could see the size of the soul. So they knew it was a child.
Yes.
And they knew that this child was surrounded by her dead relatives, the corpses of her dead relatives. And then they just played Call of Duty for 3 hours, taking pot shots at her. And it's
Because
just to see people of God, in a 24-hour period. I didn't know about this trip. I missed this one. And
it's hard to keep up, to be quite honest. I mean, the nonsense is just so innumerable that it's hard to keep up. I mean, the other day you had Itamar Ben-Gvir wearing a noose pin.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Along with others in the Israeli Knesset in support of their push to create a death penalty for all of the Palestinian prisoners. Mind you, these people have not had cases. They have not been able to even fight their a lot of them don't even have charges.
And a lot of them are not adults. Extrajudicial courts in Hebrew, which the kids don't understand, and they're being held. Oh my God. Anyway, I digress.
So
I was just
in the context
shocked.
of that, well, no, I mean, I'm not surprised, because the context of our conversation was about Jasmine Crockett, who is a Black woman who is running for senator. And, there's now a lot of hullabaloo and hubbub about her being progressive and her being, the next wave, and she's going to save the Democratic Party. And me and Sabby Sabs landing that plane at, no, this is not a progressive. This is someone who has staunchly supported Israel. I mean, it's not hard to discern this. People are like, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? And the evidence, I mean, I can show you as basic as this.
When Governor Walz started out tonight by repeating this refrain that Israel has a right to defend itself, Israel has just invaded Lebanon. Israel is now intimating that it could attack Iran. So shouldn't we be looking for a little more than just these platitudes about Israel having a right to defend itself? What is the limiting principle, especially when the U.S. is the one providing the armaments for Israel to wage these military campaigns, as you know, having voted for the National Security Supplemental back in April, which underwrote Israel's war effort?
I absolutely did vote for it. I voted for that along with every other supplemental that was available. And I will tell you this. It is important that people understand what diplomacy looks like. And it looks like the fact that this relationship between Israel and the United States has existed since before I was born. And guess what? This relationship will continue on in perpetuity even after I'm gone.
I don't know how many Nigerians you know, but I'm a Nigerian man. So sometimes I may switch to pidgin when I can't sound like British, because this is madness.
Yes.
Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker, and I need you to help me as an African American to explain to me how these well-educated, seemingly well-traveled, supposedly politically astute Black African American men and women that have chosen a life of service have got to a place where I'm looking at Cory Booker walking down corridors or dancing with, genocidal maniacs. Like, how does it get to that place?
So the first step is in knowing that the United States does not actually have politics as a public service. They're not actually in service to the people. They're in service to lobbyists. They are in service to PACs and to donors. So when you say they have entered a life of service, the life of service they've entered is to those who are going to give them money, and they serve them by passing and supporting legislation or standing in the way of legislation that prevents those corporate interests from being able to advance. And they know this. You know, there's the reason why you have so many lawyers that go into these fields, right? There's a reason why you have so many entrepreneurs go into these fields. It's because they already know the 1-2 of what's going on. So when you see this in Black people, you also understand that we do live in a capitalist country. And at the end of the day, there has been a constant push of this idea of generational wealth and Black people need to get our economics together. However, it's not done under the auspices of socialism and supporting community. It's done under the auspices of individual accomplishment, right? Like Jasmine Crockett was already a successful lawyer who made more money as a lawyer than she did in Congress if she was not going to take any corporate money. So it's not like she was struggling, right? It's not like she was saying, you know, I'm going to find my purpose in this path. However, what frustrates me is that I think a lot of people inherently think that Black people have a higher moral quotient.
Yeah, because of the historical.
Because of, exactly. And that same thing is why Israeli Zionists are getting away with what they're doing, because they effectively peddled this idea of a higher moral ground because of having a higher pain, right? Higher harm, higher moral ground. And so that's where you get this whole, like, we get to harm people because we were harmed. We have the moral army because we didn't have an army to protect us, which was literally just PR, right? Because the Zionists were actually in cahoots with Nazis. Like, Zionist Jews said, okay, we'll work with you, Nazis, versus other Jews who were like, no, we don't work with the people who are trying to kill us. Like, I think people have really just come to kerfuffle everything together in the same way that they have now with Black people in America. And I am a Black person who lives on a value system that is not capitalist, hence being a radical Black intellectual. And we are not the same just because we are Black. Like the saying goes, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And we keep using identity politics in this country to put Black people in power that do not support Black liberation.
So how do you connect? I think you kind of connected another interesting thing, which is how the far right, and I mean the real far right, has seemingly gone into bed with the Zionist entity. And what I mean by that, when Elon Musk did the what do they call it? The Hitler hand thing.
Yeah. The Heil.
And then the ADL defended him, said he was, that we should move on. We've just had something in England where a guy called Nigel Farage, I don't know if you probably know who he is.
I know him vaguely. The name is familiar.
He's the head of, he's openly racist, openly anti-Semitic, head of the Reform Party in the UK. And a lot of the people that went to school with him, who are actually Jewish, have come out saying he is an he's been saying things like Hitler was right, reminding people of Candace Owens pre her rebrand. And it's very, very interesting because the Jewish Chronicle, big paper in the UK, did an article saying that we should forget about all the anti-Semitic things he said in the past. And I was like, what? It's really, really let me get the light on, hold on. Yeah, it's really, really confusing for me to see how organizations and or newspapers that are supposed to be defending actual Jews are writing articles that are defending
because
anti-Semites.
they're not. Because this is the thing, the same way that I was saying, like, there has been a confluence, like a false equivalence created amongst all Black people. There's been a false equivalency created amongst Jewish people, right? There's Judaism as a faith. And if you follow Judaism as a faith, then you don't.
No,
you
no, two
can't-
different things. Yeah.
It's the same with Christianity. There's Christianity as a faith. And then there's people who are claiming Christianity, but they're not following the faith of it at all. In the same with everything, there's the same thing with Islam, right? So you have all of these folks, and they like to call it extremists, when I think that's a false nomenclature, because they're not. To me, if I'm an extreme Christian, I'm extremely giving. I'm extremely non-judgmental. I'm extremely supportive, right? If I'm an extremist, it is because I am so committed to the faith that I am deeply rigid and in my morals and my ethics and my principles. These are not extremists. These are liars. These are people who simply just use these spiritual tools to weaponize against humans because of our capacity to be moved. And you are neurodivergent, so you have less of a capacity to be flipped and spun. It's just what it is. Our wiring is not direct.
You must. I'm believing that you also are.
I think, absolutely autistic.
Yeah. I think that we're a funny lot, because I think the marriage of trauma, like real childhood trauma, which I know you had, and then being on this spectrum is a really, really interesting cocktail, because you're such a you're unique in the conversation of American culture. And my sister, who is your friend, I believe, Brianna Joy Gray, and a few others are
BJG.
Yeah. I mean, they don't play as well, and it's just really, really interesting. But they're like three of you, just not many. Where are the rest?
The truth is that there are more. It's just that we have been so ostracized and shunned by our fellow Black folks that many people then, they don't have the support system to really manage it, right? And I was very, very fortunate that when I was ostracized from the Black community for just being myself, I was very fortunate that I had a psychiatrist that really helped me to move through that. And I also had the right people around me. It wasn't about amount, it was about quality. The right people around me to catch me and give me a soft landing into a path forward that commits to this regardless of the ostracizing, right? And then you start to understand that, oh, I'm not alone in this. And so now I need to create spaces for others to not feel alone in this. And that's what we do here at Views from AmandaLand. That's what I do on my Patreon. I so often find people saying, I'm here because I don't have anyone in my immediate circle that I can talk to about these things. And I feel crazy. And then I come here and I feel sane because I know that I'm not bugging. And that's why, they've said forever, it's only about 5%. I love this, neurodefiant. I love that.
Absolutely.
I'm making a t-shirt that says that. But it's really true that there is a necessity to uplift these voices. And that's why I originally got connected to you through your film.
Have you seen
Shoot
it?
This.
You
no,
can try.
I need to. I haven't seen anything.
When Governor Walz started out.
Hold on. I'm messing up. I want to put yours on.
Bear witness. You could travel the world with this thing and just bear witness. People know me for celeb images, but my passion is observing the human condition and making art that has purpose.
Misan Harriman's work captures protests like no other.
The images help people see they're not alone in being frustrated.
I do wonder about the difference I'm actually making. What do protest movements truly achieve if people are still demanding the same human rights?
Power to the people! Power to the people! What you're doing is to give one the opportunity to be able to see. The images will be here forever.
As a young boy, the images of apartheid South Africa shook me to my core. And then I went on a journey of understanding what it all meant.
We gotta tell the truth. Racial profiling still exists. What do we want? Ceasefire!
It's going to be the biggest protest ever. All this is part of the journey. People have a goodness in them. That needs to be fed like a plant.
This is the work. This is the bearing witness.
I mean, this is the work. The bearing witness. I can't help but try a British accent when I'm talking to someone with a British accent. So I'm not mocking you. I'm really just
No, I love
trying
it.
to.
I
I'm
love
trying
it.
to
You're
join
good.
you. I'm working on it. But it's so. Tell me about the film. And
look,
and to me, it goes directly along with what we've been talking about.
yeah. And I remember, I made a film before this, and it got nominated for an Oscar, and there was a lot of heat around me, and I was like, with this heat, I'm just gonna see if I can get them to let me do what I want to do. And I could see the world getting more and more crazy, and I was like, why don't we do a feature-length doc on what it means to be an artist that refuses to look away when it pays to be apathetic through the lens of protest. And I think whilst making it, everything just kept getting crazier. And I was just like, you can't ignore Palestine. You cannot make a protest film and focus on queer, trans, climate, women, Black lives, and just pretend that Palestine isn't happening, which is what the industry was strongly suggesting to me and my team. And we're like, no, and there's a great page on Instagram called Pomegranates, and she has a great analogy. She says that Gaza is, I don't know if you are a Star Wars person, but she said it's a
Wait. You don't know if I'm a Star Wars person? This is
Okay,
a Jedi.
Okay. Well, she said that the Gaza is the single shot through the exhaust valve of the Death Star that brings down the whole empire.
I believe it too.
And and I love it so much because I think what this film is this film isn't really for you and me. This film is for the dads and mums in Ohio that don't know what occupation means. They don't know about the Peel Commission in 36. They don't know about Churchill's dog in the manger quote, which is just pure white supremacy before the existence of Israel. And then they see me with George Floyd's people in Minnesota. And then they start connecting that with the violent war for profit, white patriarchal, extractive capitalist machine that allows Black men to lie in their own piss whilst begging for their mama as they leave this mortal coil. And then I take them from there to Johannesburg, and I take them to the University of Johannesburg that used to be an all-white university. And within our lifetime, that university looks like you and me now. Right. And there's a scene in Johannesburg with a professor talking about Palestine, a South African man, big, strong man, talking about the history and the connection. And I think for a lot of Americans, this film is accessible because it's got all the shiny things with me at the Oscars and everything else, but it always takes them back to help them understand that we have to decolonize our minds, and protest matters not just because of getting arrested and getting on the news, because you build community, and within community lies the ability to unlearn. Because one of the most dangerous things I've seen is a combination of confirmation bias and arrested development. Just hanging out with the same people, that holiday in the same place, that listen to the same music, that love Jay-Z, Beyonce, Taylor, whoever, and they literally are in a bubble of extractive capitalist status quoism. And my film is to gently but hold your hand and pull you out of that room, for you to look outside and realize that your reality is not built on anything outside of the blood and broken bones of brown and Black. Usually at this point, if you're looking at your iPhones and your Tesla cars, kids. Right,
Yes.
because you look at Congo, you look at the, the new phones every September. You look at the fact that many of us don't realize that a lot of the things we're told to buy that we don't need. We're at Christmas now, for God's sake. How many of us are still buying, shopping,
I've
right?
canceled Christmas.
Which is in
I've canceled
Bethlehem
it.
and Jerusalem. Where is
Right.
that?
In Palestine.
So it's a film about my life that helps you go on a journey of unlearning and decolonizing yourself through my images. Listen, Edward Enninful changed my life when I became the first Black man to shoot the cover of Vogue in 2020. I could have just stayed on that lane and done pretty well for myself, taking pictures of famous folk. I'm very proud of the humans that I've shot. I'm very proud of how I shoot Black people in particular, because I have a lot of issues with the gaze of our people when they make us
Oh,
purple.
I thought you were saying the gays like GAYS, and I was like,
Oh,
what do the gays have a problem with?
No, I love them. No, they haven't hurt anyone. I'm talking more about the
The
gays.
GAZE, yes. I mean, I was on
Um,
Insecure, and that was like a really big issue with, not issue, but that was a really big focus, was like shooting Black people properly, and us being
It
able
matters.
to, like you said, not be purple.
Yeah, and if you look at most of the biggest, this is American Vogue I'm talking about, they still in general use Annie Leibovitz, and I'm always confused by that, because there are plenty of Black men and women, even in New York State, that can take a picture. And I'm like, if you're gonna shoot, you name it, most of the Black covers, sometimes they'll use Tyler Mitchell, which is great. He was the first Black man to shoot the cover. He did Beyonce in 2018, but in general, it's usually Annie, and I'm like,
Yeah, but people don't make demands. That's also part of the problem too. We act as if we don't have agency, right? I mean, and they don't want to lose an opportunity, so they're not going to make any changes. They're not going to make any challenges, and that's why people don't like me, because I'm going to be like, no, or I'll do it if, like when I did Essence, I did a shoot for Essence in Grenada, and they wanted me to do my shoot at this hotel in Grenada that was built by an Egyptian man who does not live in Grenada. And he was able to get citizenship by doing so. He built a wall that impeded a view that Grenadians in that part of the island had of the sea for how many decades. And now he come and build a wall. The Grenadians came and tear down the wall, but then the government said, nah, man, the man paid the money so he get to build a wall. And so he gets to build this wall. They had this hotel at the time. I don't know if it's changed yet, but at the time, it's not like they were using agriculture from the island. It's not like they're actively in cohesion and symbiosis with the island. So why would I come and do my photo shoot for Grenada in this hotel? There are hotels on the island that are owned by Grenadians. There are also hotels on the island that are staffed, that may not be owned by a Grenadian, but are owned by people who actively pour back into the economy of Grenada. So I said, I'm not going to do it unless I can do a shoot that is reflective of the island in the way that the people of the island want it to be reflected, which is in its ecology, right? Its strength is in its ecology, in its commitment to it, to preservation of culture in ways that other islands unfortunately haven't been able to do because of the just impact of colonization. But like, I'm only bringing this up because they could have said no, and then I wouldn't have.
Yeah, but not every. I mean, look, Simone Biles, for example, right? I don't know when she got that big cover.
You mean the Simone Biles who cheered? Wait. You mean the Simone Biles who cheered of excitement and exaltation when there were 3 Black women who were on the podium at Worlds? You mean that Simone Biles? Like, I need y'all to stop giving these people passes like they don't know what's up. Simone Biles is a Black woman in gymnastics. And I will tell you now, Misan, we have always been because I was in gymnastics. We're always the one Black girl. You mean Simone Biles, who comes from a foster home, whose mother could not have her and her siblings because she was an addict? Simone Biles is acutely aware of race.
No,
Her
I'm not saying
team,
that, but I'm saying
her
when she gets the
team may
cover, that's
say,
yeah.
right. But you,
It's
for
that.
instance, had people telling you, don't do Palestine, but you were like, I can't
Yeah, but
not.
it's growth. It's growth, right? If
No,
this
you're
was 5
right.
years ago, I don't
You're
think I would
right.
have been in this place. And I don't think
But
you've always
and
been in this place.
she's,
Have you always been in this
I've always
place?
been
Where
like
you,
this, yes.
you just popped out like this? Wow.
I've literally
Wow.
always been like this. You can ask anyone. Like in high school, I led a whole movement in the theater program when the whites were mad because there were 3 black leads that were doing the black leads in those shows. Ask anybody and they will tell you she's always been like this. But I also came from a home that was very, like, I grew up listening to Bob Marley. Like that was my lullaby music. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just, I think there's also something real about our DNA, and what we show up with in our physical being and how that gets shaped and what is the catalyst for that turning up. I mean, I'm still in touch with my first grade teacher who, when we first got back in touch, she was like, I have a bone to pick with you. I'm like, how my first grade teacher got a bone to pick with me? And her bone was, she said, in your comedy special, you said that you learned the Negro National Anthem in 10th grade, but you were singing the Negro National Anthem in first grade. I had you all singing the Negro National Anthem in first grade. I had it up on the wall because she was like, I didn't want Black children to be like, her majority of my school was Black and Mexican. And she was like, and I didn't want y'all not knowing what the real deal is, even if I had to make you say the Pledge of Allegiance. So like these types of things are instilled in you early. And, you either are able to carry them forth. But, Simone is I wouldn't use her as an example just because you're right. She's a young person like she had at the time.
Also, it's a big American Vogue cover. They would have told her it's a huge deal, and she probably would have been, because it's outside of her world. I don't know if
wish
she would have.
folks had circles around them that were on code, and so often we're not, because the code is money, the code is access, the code is visibility, and I sacrificed that because that doesn't have value to me in the way that it did when I was like at one point. So even if I had been woke forever, I still had people around me that were like, you should do this. And then I'd have to be like, yeah, nah. But though people were still around me though, like, because you were supposed to have it around you.
So why have we got from Langston Hughes, from Nina Simone to Pharrell saying he doesn't, well, you know what he said. Why have we got
in the
from
70s, we had the Black Power movement, but then we also had simultaneously the Southern Strategy and Nixon saying, what we're going to do is we are going to bring Black people into capitalism. And instead of us actually shifting the systemic racism that takes place, we are going to sidle them, but surreptitiously treat it as a goal that they can achieve economic freedom and that they are now able to do so. And so that's what it became. And then you put drugs in a community and you give people the ability to capitalize at the same time as they're killing their own community. And you give these same people who you continuously are continuously suppressing and oppressing, right? So that's the thing. It's like there's no, it's completely, it makes perfect sense to me why you would have Black capitalists, because the oppression never stopped. So like the seeing it happen in front of your face all the time never stopped. And so you're like, well, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this.
I had a lot of American brothers and sisters messaging me. They were not upset, that they were challenging. I did a 1-hour interview on Middle East Eye, and I brought up the fact that the NBA and NFL is a really good example of not recognizing our collective power. And you know,
1000%.
you look at, I don't know what percentage of the NFL is black,
I
and the
mean,
NBA, but
enough to say
enough, yeah,
the
yeah,
vast majority.
and I said it's crazy to me that someone like LeBron James doesn't wake up and and this is why they pay him and others so much. It's hard to have that bird's eye view perspective of saying, why don't we just go and raise the money ourselves and set up a co-op, set up our own league? The European players, the white players that are good are usually European. They're going to come with us anyway, right? And have real ownership. And then you look at the NFL, which in many ways is even worse because so many of the owners of the NFL teams are just
read this comment. This is how we get Pharrell's.
I see. Lord, and he has Lord in his name. I see.
And love.
Yeah, I see.
But this is.
But is it a human or a bot? I mean,
it doesn't matter because there'll still be humans that respond to the bot, right? But this is very much the thought process. Just shut up and get your money. Don't try and be
Well, I mean, getting them, and that's the irony
and that's
of
what
it, right? Because
what the other part of the NBA and the NFL is that many of them, more NFL than NBA, are shaped by white men in their young lives, by coaches.
Yeah, who do not have the politics that recognizes the humanity of black and brown bodies, which I find so interesting, right? And then you look at the quarterbacks, like I'm 47. We didn't have black quarterbacks till what, 90s?
90s. Like when Mike Vick was a quarterback, people were like, this is impossible.
Yeah, because we were the Bucks, right? You shut up.
Well,
they
literally said we're not smart enough. Don
to hold the
Imus,
ball and read the play.
Shit, said we're not smart enough.
Yeah, and so I say that I say actually, the structure, the power structure on the field was plantation based, as far as I'm concerned, right? And people are like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "But look at it, just look at it." And how do we have the level of wealth that is in the NBA in terms of 50 million, 100 million, and you're telling me 10 players couldn't get together and buy a major chunk of a team? I think they're like 3 owners, and those are the Michael Jordans and the Magic, if you like.
Colin Kaepernick kneeled for awareness around police brutality, and the entire league didn't kneel with him,
and they destroyed his life. I mean, they have they even Spike Lee's doc, have they pulled it? I don't think that's coming out.
I didn't even know it existed.
There's a big doc Spike's been doing for a long time on Cap's life, and I don't. We'll see. HBO's just been bought, so we'll see. But I heard it's not.
Well, did it get bought?
There's a new offer, right? I thought it was Netflix.
Yeah,
now,
I'm talking about it a little later.
Yeah,
Larry Ellison and Oracle. So tell me this: in this climate, how is it different in Britain in terms of creating, if at all? Because in the United States, it's become damn near impossible for folks who want to create in the network system or in the studio system. You're not going to be able to create anything that is subversive, let alone that is black, let alone subversive, right? Like I grew up seeing so much black creativity, and it's been withered and withered and withered to the point now where when I am scrolling, I genuinely don't see much of anything. And when I do see black people, we're in movies about cops, or we're in movies about politicians.
Yeah.
So I'm curious in the British side of things, what it looks like.
Well, I think in the traditional mechanisms of, it's all about money, right? Who's going to commission what? And the first film I made with Netflix was because it was a guy, it was a black woman, Fiona Lamptey, that was head of commissioning. She then has left, right? And I think a lot of people are realizing that, and I think Gaza has everything to do with it, because there's a renaissance of what the consumer wants to see. So if you look at, there are 3 films out: Voice of Hind, All That's Left Is You, and Palestine 36, they're selling out in every single cinema, right? They all had to hustle, like phone
Yes.
calls from uncles, aunties, rich friends that you think care, and they had these
Yeah.
films financed. But what they did, all of those films outside the studio system. Watermelon Pictures has been set up,
Yes.
which my film they have the global rights to my film, right? Shoot the
Okay.
People. And what I've learned,
So Watermelon Films. I posted some of
it's
their
incredible because
Q&As.
they're saying we're just going to look at the blueprint of what has been done for the last 100 years, but do it with a global lens, and the consumer wants it. So what's going to happen now is that people are going to be flying to meet banks in the global south, to meet culture funds. I know 3 culture funds, which I can't speak about, that are being set up by people of color. Right? There are parts of the Arab world that are like, oh, we're shook. We've been buying football teams, we've been buying useless trinkets. We're not going to make that mistake again. For the price of 2 yachts, we can have 10 years of podcasts being commissioned quietly, TV shows, films. So that's all being built now. And I think a lot of folks that know how to move and where to move are going to be finding pockets of fiscal availability outside of the European and North American, and making things, this is the other thing, making the films that we never got to see. Palestine 36 feels huge, right? But it is just one story. And how many films have we seen about Louverture and the Haitian Revolution? How many films have we seen about the Congo genocide and Leopold? How many films have we seen about the Mau Mau massacre? How many films have we seen about the Bengal famine? I can go on all day. People want to see that, and they're now going to be made, and we don't have to ask permission of racist, usually men, that are sitting in their LA offices trying to think that we are the only gatekeepers that, allow us to tell our stories. And, Tyler Perry movies get made. Oprah is allowed to do what she does for a reason, we have to ask ourselves, no, but why hasn't, Tyler can make a movie about Louverture. So could Oprah could finance a movie about, the Mau Mau massacre, right?
I mean, you would think they did Roots, and it's like, how many times are we going to do Roots? How much new there's new knowledge about old things that need to be shared, and we don't even have any history after 1945.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the United States, Misan, you would think that nothing happened after 1945. Like Martin Luther King was alive and then he died, not assassinated. He died.
I mean, I've just got that book. Did you get the book Without Sanctuary? Have you got that book yet?
No, Without Sanctuary.
America is so fucked up. About the Christmas, the lynching Christmas cards. Not you, but Americans used to send themselves. So it's an extraordinary book that goes into detail. I mean, this was a real practice where someone would send a relative a picture of a lynched Black woman or Black man as a Christmas card. And somebody needs to do and someone needs to do the documentary. And I know people don't want to see it, but I think of him every day. I don't want to get emotional now, but I think of George Stinney Jr. every day. And Ava DuVernay touched on it, but he needs his story told properly, and people sometimes argue whether the Bible bit is true, that he was too small. So they made him sit on the Bible before they electrocuted him, youngest person to be electrocuted. Doesn't matter. They electrocuted a child in America for a crime that he did not commit. And that story, outside of little mini 10-minute segments, has never been told. So yeah, you're right. There are stories to be told. And it's not, and people say, oh, I'm tired of all the trauma, blah, blah, blah. Listen, if we talk about how many movies have been made about a singular story, I think of all the history lessons I had at school. They're just telling me the same story. I had to learn about Sykes-Picot.
I know more about the Holocaust than I did about my own people I could tell you about Kristallnacht, the Nuremberg trials. I can tell you about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. I can tell you about Dachau and Auschwitz and
many great films.
Bergen-Belsen.
Many great films.
No, but I'm telling you, I knew that from school. I knew that from school. I can sing the dreidel song. Oh, dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I made it out of clay. I can do all of that. However, I didn't learn about Zionism.
Did they teach you about Congo?
Congo?
About Leopold? No? Okay.
We didn't learn about... I mean, we barely learned that Africa existed.
So they didn't talk about 10 million genocide? No, 10 million hands being chopped off of kids? None of that? No?
None of it.
Okay.
We haven't... In the United States, I mean... You have to really be intentional about your children or yourself learning the lengths that this nation has gone to exhibit harm against everybody who is not white. And then you go to a whole other level to see who the whites that they exhibited harm against, because they wasn't fucking with the Appalachians. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And so, you know, we find ourselves at this really important zenith which is why I refer to myself as an artistic intellectual, where the necessity for art to educate is again back to it's no longer just like a subcategory. I feel like it needs to be the category that we're creating in. You know, because like for a lot of time, it's felt like, you know, can't we just have like a feel-good film? No.
And also, look, I don't know how, you know, in the art, I've got a big exhibition of my photographs. And again, everyone's like saying, Misan, put the BLM stuff, put the climate, put the queer, you're going to do so well. The art world's going to love you. I'm like, it's 50% images of Palestinian solidarity and resistance on 3 continents, because that has been, of my lifetime, the biggest single protest movement that I've ever witnessed with my lens. And again, I put it all in a Black-owned gallery, and it's become the busiest gallery show in London by quite a mile. But the big but is, I'm in a position that I can force that issue to happen. The bigger question is, if you look at the top 10 Black artists in the world, you know, what's the term they use? Blue chip artists. What are they saying about the world as we... No, what are they... No, I have to say. They'll be showing at the Guggenheim, they'll be showing here, but if your revolutionary work makes rich folk comfortable, it ain't
at the same time that it makes them richer.
Well, as an asset class, yes, of course. You know, yes, of course. But the thing about art is that when it's really dangerous is when it goes beyond that, and the people want it, then it becomes part of the zeitgeist anyway, right? And I think I never waited to ask permission to do any of the things that I'm doing in terms of, you know, if I have, there's an image I have in the gallery that says "fuck white privilege," with a woman wearing a mask saying Trump stinks. And somebody walks in saying, you know, why would you have this in an exhibition? And I said, for the very reason that you have the effrontery to sit there as a white person and ask me why I would have that in an exhibition is the reason why it has to be in the exhibition. And now go do the work on yourself.
Right.
You know, so I don't know how it is in America, but I think the museum system is the gallery system. A lot of people that are Black that are doing very well are very, very scared. That's why Amy Sherald is just a legend, because she's like, no, you're not going to do that to me. You know,
Yep.
she found a space where her work could breathe and be what it's supposed to be. There are not many Amy Sherrills out there, I'll tell you.
But that's what you were saying before, though, right? I mean, like there's like little pepperings of us in various spaces, and that's also why it's so imperative that we all remain connected. and
What
sharp.
was your low?
I
I
mean,
have to ask you, Amanda. What was your lowest point in the last 2 years? Because I know you've been vocal about all of this for a long time before October, but I know for most people it became. I mean, Miss Rachel's hiring security now, right? I mean, it's just it's out of control. Was there a time in the last 2 years where, not because people are necessarily after you, but the pure medieval violence reigned upon, men, women, and children, but particularly children for me? Was there a moment where you're just like, I don't know what to do or say anymore?
February of 2024. I remember I was just talking about this last night with my homegirl. I was sitting in my car in my garage. I had just come home and I was sitting in my car. I was on the phone with my homegirl, and I remember just sitting in the garage in the dark talking to her and saying, like, I just can't get, I don't want to kill myself, but it feels like I'm dead. Like, it feels like death. Like, I feel like I know what death is, and I am in a cloud every single day. Like, the depression of, but it wasn't, and the thing about it is that it was more, actually, if this is even possible, it was more than simply just the images that I was seeing out of Palestine. It was also simultaneously really understanding the complete deprivation of the nation that I'd lived in, of the system that I'd been supporting so somewhat, even on a Democrat level, of the world. And so it was a complete ego death of what I knew or thought I knew, but it was also a complete death of my existence, So, I mean, it's just like watching Alderaan be eviscerated. And I mean, people saw me crying on Instagram every day. I mean, I was just, and I had to get on Lexapro. I mean, I had to get on, because I just realized, like, I mean, I developed IBS. Like, I mean, it was just like, you can't manage, like, and I had to really meet myself at the reality of, like, you can't manage. And you are dealing with a force that is not something you're making up.
That is well organized, incredibly unemotional, and in its long-term intention to do what it needs. I mean, it's straight up Star Wars, but the thing that makes it so much worse than Star Wars, apart from it being real, is that there was something. It's been removed from the internet. At least I can't find it anymore. Of a child that was in the rubble, and you could only see her head, and the guys couldn't dig her out. She was in a position that they couldn't dig her out, and they knew that she was dying. They knew,
and they had
she
to
didn't
talk
have
to her
long,
and
and they had talked to her, and then one of the guys was playing with her hair. My sister, and she didn't know she was dying. And they were having, and I locked myself. I have two little girls. I locked myself in the toilet. And there are different types of crying, right? There's the kind of tears roll down, and you're like, and then there's like, I do that a lot. But this is the first time I can remember, at least in my adult life, no, I wailed.
I've had those.
I sounded like an animal. It wasn't. I didn't sound like, and then from that wailing, I would then go into because I wear many hats, right? A work environment surrounded by people that are trying to tell me that this is exactly how it's supposed to be, and I can see why people lose their minds.
Yes,
it's
because
so
it's
yeah.
And this is why it's so necessary to keep making the things, right, and doing the things. And I'm going through that now with Sudan and the Congo, and hearing the stories that are coming out of there are a whole other level of reprobate. So it's you know, and you're trying to somehow, I feel like we're having to create a cellular capability that allows us to see it in its horror without becoming calloused. And thus, like, the processing of it has to be not how do I not feel when I see this, but how do I become action oriented when I see this?
What
And
do
it's
you
a
do with it?
conscious,
Yeah.
it's a conscious decision I've had to make around how to take in this this information, you know. And then you see people like Hillary Clinton and Sarah Horowitz running around talking about, well, you know, the problem is really that people are watching TikTok, not the fact that there's an actual genocide happening.
It's not
That's
the
not the
bombs.
problem.
Yeah. And the arrogance. This is the thing about confirmation bias, her level of arrogance. And, you know, when you see someone like her saying, and she's fundamentally saying that when it all boils down to it, the only answer is violence. She can use all the, you know, finery that, you know, she's just saying the bombs have to drop and they have to continue dropping. And the pure white supremacist viewpoint of her world is extraordinary to me, that she can sit and the second interview she did, the guy actually tried. He tried to push back and he goes, yeah, but what about the baby? I mean, he tried. And she's like, well, war is war. I'm like,
is it?
You know,
because that's
really
not what's happening in Ukraine.
Don't let me start with that. I'm ambassador for Save the Children, and I got very frustrated with UNICEF. So the two biggest charities, not with UNICEF, but because there's some amazing people at UNICEF, but the biggest ambassador for UNICEF from a British point of view is somebody called David Beckham, who I'm sure you've heard of. And I remember how vocal, well, he wasn't doing anything like that for the last 2 years for Palestinian kids, yet he was incredibly vocal for Ukrainian children. And I don't mind if you're rich. I don't mind if you're famous. You can get on with your life and enjoy it. But if you choose, and this is where we get into an issue with me, if you choose to be a children's goodwill ambassador,
right,
and there's a place that is the size of a postage stamp with 1 million children in, that has had 6 Hiroshimas dropped on it, and you haven't said anything, and you're a goodwill ambassador for the biggest children's charity in the world, I have a problem with you. Either you relinquish that, or these children, and I will say, I just need your voice. Just speak, say something. It really matters. In the British cultural setup, he is someone that he can get a meeting within 1 hour with the Prime Minister. It's just the way things are set up, right? It is what it is. Say something. You know, you've got your knighthood, you've got all your things, but you are still a children's ambassador. And I found it extraordinary to me, the amount of goodwill ambassadors for children in the last 2 years that were completely and utterly mute in the biggest attack on children that we have seen in a generation. You know, just because I have so many
white children's ambassadors. They're ambassadors in really just the regard of, and they may not even know this, but they're really just tools for soft power, because a lot of the actual services being provided to the children that they are the ambassador for are done so with an attachment to some level of leverage or power that is being carried out. So like when you see someone like Bill Gates, or you see the United States government somewhere helping kids, it's never done in altruism. It's always done in an exchange of power, whether it's militarized or economic, right? So then they get celebrities who come on board to be the children's ambassadors, which sounds very noble and very like we care. And those celebrities don't realize that while they are simultaneously also building up their own face and their own, you know, reputation for being a good person, they are actively supporting systems that are in place to actually diminish these people's safety. So it's a part of the NGO, nonprofit system that really does not seek to solve problems. So I'm feeling particularly cynical today. So you're getting a lot of, you're getting all the.
No, but we've this 2 years. I look back, and I think none of us are ever going to be the same.
No.
Whatever veil that was on for me, it's just all gone, right?
All of it.
And I'm not alone. But what's amazing is that a lot of other people, and this is what gives me hope, because sometimes you're like, where's the hope? Where's your hope? Is that a lot of people are on beginning to go on a journey to like, oh shit, the Democrats and the Republicans just bomb everyone. That being right or center or left, depending on where you live, doesn't mean that you're not bombing people. And then because I remember one of the big wake-up calls for me was, I'm not American, but I always say that if I was, I would be obviously a progressive left-leaning Democrat. And I'm like, how can I watched Joe Biden.
But even that's not enough.
Go on camera saying that.
But everything you just said, that's not even a thing. Like, that's not being a progressive left-leaning Democrat. You're still a part of the liberal system that upholds all the shit.
Well, and
you
I
can't
think
be
that's
a Democrat.
No, but that's the thing that I think if I was American, my wake-up call to that would have been the Biden administration in the last 18 months.
I see.
That,
yes.
See, and I think I'm not alone.
Okay, so you know what? I agree with, because not agree is not the word. I was there. I was that person.
Linda Thomas Greenfield, Auntie listen, I did a post saying, how am I going to tell my daughters? This is the sort of person that I used to think I would tell my daughters about.
Yes.
For them to look up to, right? And I'm like, what am I going to say? And I had a whole bunch of folks get in the comments saying, Misan, have you looked at her CV? Do you know, it's better to have one of us in the room. And I said, no, it's not.
It's not.
If that room is erasing a people, then I don't want any of us in it, right? Or
leave us out of it.
Or even better, the person that was in it, if they want greatness, right? If it's about the cult of individualism, if they want legend, resign.
Exactly.
Resign. Kamala Harris, if she had resigned saying this crazy old man, I can't deal with him. Resign. Do not wheel out Bill Clinton to Dearborn and have him say things to Arab Americans like Judea and Samaria. Are you mad? Huh?
Are you mad?
No, but go and bring a Palestinian person, bring a progressive Jewish person, bring them together, stand there and saying, this, we need a ceasefire. This is, if you don't at that stage want to use the word genocide, you can use all kinds of ethnic cleansing, other terms, but do not wheel out Clinton to a place with more Arab Americans than anyone else and expect that anyone under 25 is going to care. Any white, black, brown people that are just on the side of like, this is crazy. And of course, any traumatized Arabs who are in diaspora, seeing children in their image have their limbs removed, being eaten by dogs. This is not dogs. Anyway. So that's what you do instead of us saying, no, we celebrate any of us that are in the room. Which room? If the room is just dripping with blood, why should we be inside?
Well, and that's what Martin Luther King said. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I feel like I've integrated my people into a burning house. And what he meant by that was he thought that the United States had some level of moral code, and it does not. And so he has literally ushered his people into an immoral, unethical space where they are now going to be used against themselves. And that's exactly what happened.
Money Mayweather.
Oh, I mean, he can't even read. So he's probably got so much CTE going on. So we have one question from our Brit across the pond, Reese, who asks, a pleasure to witness this conversation. Also, Mr. Harriman, I'm friends with Nadia Sawalha and Mark. So this is wondrous intersection. Going into the new year, do you have any further activism projects?
Yeah, Nadia is a Jordanian British treasure. So is her amazing husband, Mark. She has been a real deal since the very beginning. I've photographed her reading the names of murdered children outside the Houses of Parliament. I love that woman with all my heart. Yeah, look, I've got my projects where I photographed Black children with Down syndrome. So I'm trying to find a way to, so again, with my lens, I point to communities and places that don't always get the recognition. I've had the honor of photographing, so even within Down syndrome, they have just in general, erased Black children, right? And I don't know if you know, Down's children are all angels.
Yes.
And to have Black babies with Downs be, photographed with me, it was more important to me than any celeb that I've ever shot. So I'm trying to make sure we've done a few little shows and exhibitions, but that's a big program that I'm trying to reach others. I'm trying to get into Sudan. I'm trying to get into Congo with my camera. I was in Somalia and Cairo with some of the projects that I'm working on. It's getting harder and harder for me to get into certain places. I want to get to the West Bank, but I'm on a very, 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 very naughty list with you know who. So my safety isn't guaranteed there. But I'm just going to keep pointing my lens, and then I'm shooting my next movie as well. So trying to keep myself.
Are you allowed to talk about that? Or not allowed, but are you interested?
Well, two things I'll say about films. The one that I'm hoping to shoot next year is about addiction and redemption in a forgotten America, starring one of the great actors of our time, a Black man. That's all I can say. The second one, which is in development, and you'll love this, Amanda, I'm developing a movie about a Beyonce level pop star that has her private jet. Let's say she's in Grenada or wherever. It stops working, and she's without her team. She's stuck in an island, and she goes down a Reddit rabbit hole and realizes that she is literally the face of capitalism, of a supremacist ecosystem, from fast fashion, and it's a comedy akin to Don't Look Up. You remember that Leo movie?
Yep.
Where the movie basically starts with her being isolated, gone down a rabbit hole, and she tweets "Free Palestine, Free Sudan, Free Congo," and it's like DEFCON 7. Like they call the president and said, "Oh my God, she's called the president!" And it's about what the team in New York and LA are trying to do to mitigate this, and the journey that this pop star has on realizing the inherent power of this immense audience that they've been given. Because this is why I keep bringing up celebrities, you see, it's that not because I see them as some messianic figures, it's that they won the land grab of the real estate that for now we're stuck with. If you look at the top 10 most followed people on Instagram alone, it is 4 Kardashians, 3 or 4 footballers, Taylor, Beyonce, what have you, and the total following is almost 4 billion people. Right?
Nuts.
This is obscene, and they can literally once a week do a post with a fundraiser, right? That could raise more money than every single humanitarian organization combined, and they wouldn't have to leave their bedrooms.
No.
Okay, so I'm not asking them to become revolutionaries at the tip of this spear of any movement. I'm saying now you've got the land grab, usurp it, and then use it. And you're too rich to even need to be worried about being cancelled. How can you cancel Jay-Z and Beyonce? How?
Well,
they can't be.
You have like
There's
Alicia
too much
Keys
money.
and Swiss Beats. You know, I look at Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. You know, Swiss Beats is out here being Muslim, you know, with the name
He's Muslim?
Kasim
Is he
Dean.
Muslim?
He grew up in that context. His name is Kasim. His son's name is Kasim. And they have not said anything because they will get phone calls or they'll lose their money, etc. You know, and Alicia Keys loves to talk about civil rights and blah, blah, blah. And some people will say, well, maybe they're doing stuff in the background. And I guess what I would say now is that the days of doing stuff in the background is no longer. We cannot continue to support surreptitious support because if you're actively also supporting in silence.
And you cannot have hundreds of millions of followers and not use that. It's like saying, okay, it's like you have this reach. And Muhammad Ali, for example, before social media, and this is what Mayweather has always got frustrated about in terms of not being called the greatest, is that most people today, if you see posts about Ali, it's not him fighting in the ring.
No, it's him with Malcolm X. It's him schooling a pompous white interviewer. It's him talking about being a person of faith, of character, right? Of revolutionary radical mindsets. That to this day, were the right move. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been like some type of epiphany now where people are like, man, he made the wrong choice. No, he was actually right the whole time.
With his whole chest on prime time, right? And this is exactly what a Pharrell or a Jay-Z should be doing. At this stage in their career, like what are they upholding? What are this they play? I almost understand playing the game to get there, but when you are in the room, the whole point is to remember why you wanted to get in that room, right?
But then Jay-Z just tried to open a casino in the middle of New York City. So, and people will say, but they also do good things, and I'm just like, why can't you just do good things? Why is there like a give and take? Why I don't understand that. So,
and even forget Palestine now, if people say, well, black folks talk about black folk, then they should talk about Congo and Sudan. How about that?
Fine. And you know what? And you can't talk about the Congo and Sudan without
yes, but no, Amanda, you're too. I'm saying Nigeria, you're too advanced. You're going from iOS 3 to iOS 14. No. Listen,
thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Just before I go, I will say this about Congo. Imagine if Jay-Z, I don't know, Dr. Dre, Pharrell, called up Tim Cook at Apple and said, Tim, you have $1 trillion cash reserves. It would be a rounding error to set up a $30 billion fund to make sure that no child under 18 is anywhere near the mining system, right? To make sure all the schools, hospitals are built, roads built, that the best Congolese minds in country and in diaspora are leading this charge in making sure a country that should be richer than Saudi Arabia, that is fueling the future, this AI
You know what Tim
future.
Cook would say? Tim Cook would say, I don't have the power. Because and that's the other part, is that the people that we think are running the show ain't even running the goddamn show.
True, but if you had LeBron, Jay-Z, the people that shape culture actually speak in one voice about this thing, it will, I think it would.
They should be trying to get into, but this is the thing. Like, I actually don't want them to just speak. Like, what made Princess Diana so, crazy to the monarchy was that she physically went. Like she physically went and spoke to people. She physically went and walked through the landmines. And apparently Palestine was next on her agenda. And they took her out. I believe that they took her out. It's alleged, but that's my belief. I say that to say it actually isn't enough for them to just go to Tim Cook. I think that there's something very real about the fact that these people have the money and the safety and the capabilities to bring things
do it themselves. To do it themselves. I forget how wealthy they are. I mean, I forget that they are.
Like, it's like next level. The wealth is next level. The wealth is next level.
And
but
the,
you're working
and the
next level,
ability,
Misan.
Yep. I know we got to go. But you're amazing. Are you ever in London?
I would like to be.
Come
I would like to
through.
be. I need to be on more international spaces and whatnot. So I am trying to do more podcasts from, having, and not just like in a ambitious mindset, but in a, we need to be having like these cross connection, cross-cultural conversations. Part of what has been so problematic in the United States is that we've really been siloed, and that has limited our ability to be useful for not only ourselves, but for the world. And so there has to be a geopolitical consciousness that is actively pursued. So I'm making it my business to try to have more conversations outside of the United States sphere. And so if you know any podcasts on the international stage that you think I should connect with, let me know.
Of course. Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And
So where can folks...
I won't say happy holidays, because I genuinely think it is at this time where we need to recognize that Haiti, Congo, Sudan, Palestine, this is the time you need to think about what you're going to do about it whilst you're at home overfed. Think about it. For me, my film, Watermelon Pictures, just follow them. They're going to,
Rolando put it in the chat, so he'll put it in the chat again, y'all. And thank you so much for the work that you do. And let's continue. And Misan, stop sending me 5011 DMs. Let me tell y'all something. Misan is gonna send you every post.
So you know, when I meet someone that is on my spectrum, I love it, right? Because there's a friend of mine called Lisa Morris, and she sends even more than I do. I have no source. I can't. I don't
respect
mean.
it.
I just
no. Honestly, when I read your IG bio today, I was like, oh, that's why.
Fully, and that's me trying to limit myself. That's how
I respect it. I'm telling you, once I saw the bio today, I was like, oh, I get it. Now I understand. We are akin. Mine is more compartmentalized. I have very specific people that I send specific things. Like some people, they get all posts that I see about mushrooms. One person, he gets anything I see about fireflies, because I know he loves fireflies. My homeboy Luke is going to get anything that is wizards, Lord of the Rings, and animals being cool. And it's very, very specific. I used to send somebody whales, but they fell off my list. So no more whale posts. It just is what it is.
Oh gosh. Well, that makes me feel a little better.
What? Oh, you felt bad? I'm sorry. Apologies. I wasn't trying to. I was just having a laugh.
You know, I absolutely love the idea that no one can pretend to be who they're not online. Like, if you look at the behavior of all of us, it's us. It's us, right? Like, it is who you are. And I love it when people pretend that, like, they think they're no, it's us.
They think they're playing 5D chess. No.
No.
That's
you.
Yeah. It's you. Well, I'm glad we got to meet digitally. I look forward to us meeting in person.
Absolutely.
And I will make it my business to watch the film. Now that it's like when I'm home, I don't get time to do anything. When I'm on the road is when I actually get time, because I just, between doing things, I'm like, oh, I can watch stuff. So I will be watching the film.
Before my erasure, watch the voice of Erasure, please. Please watch that film.
I will.
Oh my gosh.
Noted.
Take care.
Noted.
All right.
Gents, we really don't have a lot of time because I have to go somewhere. So, I just want to run through some things with you all before we go. Actually, the most important thing I want to run through with you all is Indonesia. So let's just get into, because we've really covered a lot this show. We've really covered a lot. 60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
climate change is not by accident. It is not natural. And that is something that is really being peddled to make people feel like it's not their responsibility to be challenging the ways in which it is being caused. And it's really disconcerting when you see this footage and you understand that it can be prevented. The fossil fuel industry is what is causing what is happening. And I don't think people understand that it's really a 2 + 2 thing. You don't have to be a scientist. It's not complicated. It's really something very basic. When we burn fossil fuels, it releases gases into our ecosystem that warm up the space between the earth and the atmosphere. And that warmth can usually be mitigated. However, because it's happening in such great numbers, it's causing the earth to mitigate in ways that are causing all of this disaster. So the ways that the earth is responding to this in order to allow it to exist are what's causing the harm to all of the people and animals. The earth is trying to survive. It is literally being beaten down by human action. I want to show you this video by James Hansen, who is a
cost to
climate
society.
scientist.
Our governments are forcing the public to subsidize fossil fuels by $400 to $500 billion per year worldwide, thus encouraging extraction of every fossil fuel: mountaintop removal, longwall mining, fracking, tar sands, tar shale, deep ocean, Arctic drilling. This path, if continued, guarantees that we will pass tipping points, leading to ice sheet disintegration that will accelerate out of control of future generations. A large fraction of species will be committed to extinction. And increasing intensity of droughts and floods will severely impact breadbaskets of the world, causing massive famines and economic decline. Imagine a giant asteroid on a direct collision course with Earth. That is the equivalent of what we face now. Yet we dither, taking no action to divert the asteroid, even though the longer we wait, the more difficult and expensive it becomes. If we'd started in 2005, it would have required emission reductions of 3% per year to restore planetary energy balance and stabilize climate this century. If we start next year, it is 6% per year. If we wait 10 years, it is 15% per year. Extremely difficult and expensive, perhaps impossible. But we aren't even starting. So now you know what I know that is moving me to sound this alarm. Clearly, I haven't got this message across. The science is clear. I need your help to communicate the gravity and the urgency of this situation and its solutions more effectively. We owe it to our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Y'all, that was from 12 years ago. 12 years ago. That's crazy. Hold on. Anyways, this is not something that's happening by accident. And this was 12 years ago. And look, it's happening right now still. The Trump EPA removes all mention of human-caused climate crisis from public web pages. This is disinformation misinformation, and I don't know how we can really challenge it unless we really begin to understand it in a really real way. And so part of the understanding it in a real way also is in how we understand the land. And I will bring us back to the necessity of indigenous knowledge. And it's not some woo-woo concept. It is an actual way of carrying.
If we take care of the land takes care of us. This is about a relationship, a mutual love story. It's not an accident that 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity are located on lands managed and loved by indigenous peoples. We have been in relationships with the plants and animals of our territories and waters for millennia. We care for each other. Surely, we have values, insights, strategies, and knowledge to offer to the rest of the global community with respect to how to be a part of and care for our environment. This knowledge is essential right now. It can help people and the land heal from ecological crises and colonization. It can help restore the planet, and it can help save us all. By fully respecting and acknowledging indigenous-led approaches to the land, we can help create a better future for all.
So that is Valerie Courtois. She is a national leader in Canada in the Indigenous-led conservation and stewardship movement, and she is a part of the First Nations. And, I would say that the Canadian First Nations folks, they really are leading the charge in this. I just saw an article, and I'll talk about it on Instagram and on Patreon, about an actual Native American group in the United States getting an ICE contract to actually create detention centers. And I had to take a nap. I'm just like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? So I want to continue to get our knowledge base up on how we are understanding the climate crisis and how we are fighting it, because it's not something that is just happening in a microcosm. It's happening all over. We're seeing it, whether it's in floods or in droughts. We're seeing it, whether it's in entire ecosystems losing all of their biodiversity, or including coral reefs dying, being bleached. So, we really are not realistically about it if we're not including that in our activism, in our organizing, and in our ways of interacting with this world. So want to make sure that we're getting up on that. Quick note on Luigi. Luigi, things are looking up for Luigi, because it looks like Luigi is actually, y'all, they played themselves when it comes to Luigi. Because real quick, because I do need to go. There was a cop who just showed up at the scene for Luigi, okay? She wasn't actually a part of the original investigation. She just showed up, and then she leaves, takes his backpack, and turns off her camera for 11 minutes. And one second. Turns off her camera for 11 minutes, meets up with some other cop. Okay? Meets up with some other cop. Camera turns back on. Now they show up at the precinct, and there's a gun and a manifesto that's all of a sudden, surprise, in the backpack. Then they put out this footage of him giving a fake name when he's encountered by the cops. And like, yeah, okay. Also, he don't got the brows. The brows don't line up. The person who was in that video didn't have hair between the eyes. It's a setup, bro. The setup, bro. This is basic. He also never was read his rights. He was like questioned for 20 minutes before he was read his rights. There's further footage where they're literally debating whether a warrant was needed to search his belongings. What? Like, again, this lady who took it, Wasser, she wore blue medical gloves. She showed up with blue medical gloves, and a detailed defense lawyer suggests that she planned to search the bag again and knew what she might find. In her testimony, she testifies that she took 11 minutes to make a 9-minute drive and claims she made a stop to retrieve a McDonald's bag. So actually, I correct myself. It wasn't the backpack. She had the backpack. She retrieved a McDonald's bag from another officer. But y'all, she said she couldn't remember who the officer was. And she couldn't remember where she met him. You know what? Free Luigi. Yeah. Free Luigi. The long way. You heard me? PSA. You know, people say things to me quite often about how I am supposed to exist as a leader. They'll tell me that this is what a leader would do. If you were a leader, you would tell us who to vote for. If you were a leader, you would tell us how to process your information. If you were a leader, you wouldn't just give us information without solutions. And I find this fascinating because one of the key elements of educating is allowing students to critically think, to come up with results, to identify solutions. We have lived in a nation that is overmanaged. Everybody has a manager. Everybody has a boss. Everybody has a director. Everybody has protocols and policies and directives and, you know, all these instructions all the time that are literally alleviating you from having to think, to the point where constantly when I'm working with folks, we have to tell them, just do what you think is best. And so we find ourselves as a nation crippled by weaponized incompetence. So often folks are literally weaponizing their incompetence with insults to me, mad that I am not responding to their perceived incompetence by telling them what to do. No, I will not tell you what to do, because there has to be a stop. You know, when you take antibiotics, if you don't finish the run of antibiotics, you become obstinate to the antibiotics. Your body starts to build up of course, I can't think of the word because I'm so fucking hungry, but your body builds up say the word for me, y'all. What's the word? Put it in the chat. Somebody knows the word. Your body builds up come on. Somebody, no, resistance. Thank you. Your body builds up a resistance to the antibiotic. What the antibiotic is doing is coming into your body and it is filling your body with antibodies that are supposed to fight off the thing. If you don't finish the antibiotic, then instead of your body welcoming in those antibodies and them then dissipating when they're done, your body starts to actually like interact with those antibodies. Your body starts to interact with those antibodies, and now it is not going to be as effective the next time because your body is like, oh, we know these niggas, we got that. We have been affected by a psychological operation that operates like antibodies. It has been so consistently disseminated within us for such consistent runs that we are unable. What is happening? That is preventing us. Hold on. That is preventing us from being able to actually be in resistance. So we need to resist the influx. We need to resist the constant necessity to be told what to do and ask ourselves, why are we doing something? What are we doing? We have to change the way our brains function. We have to start asking why. If you're telling me that I'm supposed to tell you who to vote for, then you have already now given over yourself to follow me blindly, which you should absolutely not be doing. You should be asking why. And if I'm telling you why somebody is not a candidate worth supporting, you have built into the complaint what your next action should be. And if you cannot figure out what your next action should be, you should be asking yourself why you don't know what the next action should be, not asking me why I'm not telling you. I am not telling you because I want to foster brains that function beyond I am not telling you because I want to foster brains that function beyond colonization. And colonized minds are drones. Colonized minds move because they were told to move. Colonized minds don't understand why they're moving and they don't care. They just want to feel safe. But you need to know that you're safe. And the only way to do that is to have your own thoughts and your own capability of understanding. And that is the type of leadership that I am trying to instill in you. TSA. All right, y'all. It's time to go. I need to eat something. And yes, Adrian, don't be separate people. Shout out to our guest today. We had some dope show. I'm going to make sure to create the link for Patreon, so all of my Patreon subscribers come on over and be a part of the after show kickback. If you have not been a part of the after show kickback, you are playing yourself. All right. So thank you to Misan Harriman for joining. Thank you, of course, for Sabby Sabs joining. I hope that you guys learned as much as I did today because it was definitely another educational one, which is my favorite kind of show. I will be in Houston, okay? I'm going to be in Houston tonight. I will be in New Orleans tomorrow. I will be in Atlanta on Saturday. All my AT aliens, can you please... Actually, let me turn off the music so I can make sure y'all hear this. All my AT aliens, can you please get your RSVPs in? Okay. Go to AmandaLand Exports or go to amandaseals.com. and get your RSVPs in to come on through. And I will be in Dallas on Sunday. So make sure that you come and join me for this mission-driven book tour for What Would the Ancestors Say? I wish you all a fabulous rest of your day. And let's see, do I even have a 60-second headlines? I mean, a 30 seconds of stillness. I don't even know. I done forgot my hard drive. I'm just out here. I'm just out here. And I'm pretty sure that I don't have a 30 seconds of stillness. Damn. You know, it's killing me. So this is going to be the first time that we don't have it. No. I can't live like that. We're going to have a 30 seconds of stillness. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. The bonus question is, what is leadership to you? That's the bonus question. What is leadership to you? Because I feel like people don't even know what that word means at this point. They just be saying it, but they don't necessarily actually know what is leadership. They think that it's someone telling them what to do and them not having to think. I don't agree with that as necessarily leadership. I consider that to be, well, dictatorship. You're being dictated to. And I don't think that that's useful, right? So what do you all think? Let's get into we're going to get into a 30 seconds of stillness by hook or by crook. You hear me? By hook or by freaking crook. Where is it at? Do I even have the graphic in here, y'all? All right. Well, you'll get, this is the acapella. 30, oh, here it is. Boom. 30 seconds of stillness. Damn it. Okay. Now I got to do it again. 30 seconds of stillness. AmandaLand, Smart, funny,